plus free shipping right now. Go to stopagingnow.com and use code FOX.
The Equality Act is stalling out in the U.S. Senate. Democrats had hoped they could pass the legislation creating new protections for LGBTQ Americans this year, but Republicans warn it would open the floodgates for transgender athletes to play on female sports teams. A large piece of a Chinese rocket from a launch last month is expected to fall back to Earth this weekend. Fox's Jill Nato reports.
A 23-ton rocket core careening out of orbit and headed for Earth. We don't know where it's going to hit, but researchers think they have an idea as to when. The Center for Orbital Reentry and Debris Study says it'll be around 04:19 Greenwich Mean Time. That's 12:19 a.m. Eastern Time Sunday, give or take 8 hours. Because the Earth is mostly covered with water, chances are it'll hit an ocean. And some scientists believe as much as 40% of it will get burned up in the atmosphere. But if it hits land, whatever's left of it is bound to leave a mark. Jill Nato, Fox News.
At least 30 people were dead after a bomb exploded near a girls' school west of Kabul. The Taliban condemned the attack, and there's been no claim of responsibility. A well-known billionaire hosting tonight's Saturday Night Live show on NBC.
Tesla and SpaceX billionaire Elon Musk will take the stage this evening to try his hand at hosting the iconic show, which also features Miley Cyrus as musical guest. The announcement of Musk as Saturday Night Live host has drawn criticism on social media.
Are you making sense to the boomer mindset? I'm Holland Cook from survivalspeech.com. 80 million baby boomers comprise 25% of the population and control most of the USA's wealth. As aging parents pass on, they'll control more. Boomers are 46 to 65 years old and regard themselves as midlife. They identify as neither young nor old. They're post-minivan and pre-retirement, and they don't like being called boomers. They think me. Many of the purchases boomer couples make are individual purposes. They've been experimenters all their lives. If you want their attention, tell stories and keep it simple. If something seems complicated, boomers can dismiss it as, I don't need this. And if you're looking for work, you may be applying to a boomer, so relate accordingly. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
It's the Onion Radio News. Jcpenney abandons its 45-second sale. This is Doyle Redland reporting. Word came today from Jcpenney headquarters in Plano, Texas, that the retail giant will discontinue its 45-second sale. The bargain bonanza, in which all Jcpenney merchandise is discounted by 60% for 45 seconds starting at 1 p.m. daily, simply wasn't pulling in enough revenue. CEO Alan Questrom.
The 45-second sale drew very strong customer response, but regrettably, only a handful of shoppers actually got to capitalize on our fantastic prices due to the horrific injuries they sustained during their stampede to the cashier.
Questrom added that plans are in the works to create a longer 2-minute sale intended to give frantic shoppers at least a fighting chance to enjoy incredible store-wide savings. Doyle Redland for the Onion Radio News, online at theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line. You can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. 603-283-6160. And with you in the studio tonight, it's Aria,
Matt, and Peakless Mountaineer.
Oh, welcome, Matt. I wasn't sure whether or not you were going to be on with us. It's confusing here at the studio because I honestly had no idea who I was going to be doing this show with tonight.
Matt.
Yes, evidently. I asked you about 20 minutes ago if you wanted to be on tonight, so thanks for that. Because as far as I knew, it was just Joa and myself, but there were issues with that, and I had no way to get in touch with Joa. And then Chris Wade offered to be on the show, and I was like, yeah, sure, come on. So that gave us 4 people once you showed up, and then
Well, it turns out when
do?
you are forbidden to use technology, things get a little more difficult.
They do. And, this is a problem I've been trying to fix for like the last 7 weeks. Almost everything related to Free Talk Live and the communications between the hosts and the show hosts and all of that was being done through Telegram. It's how we kept track of who was doing what and the show prep and all of that. But suddenly, I can't use Telegram, and it seems extraordinarily unlikely that once Ian is let out that he's going to be able to use Telegram, considering that Telegram was specifically cited as a problem by the government when they were arguing about his detention hearing.
Oh, definitely not. If anything, I think he'll have an even more restrictive set of what he can use.
I believe that's going to prove to be the case. I think they'll be more lenient with him in regard to show stuff and in regard to news, but that's only because he's going to be more willing to fight for those things than I am. I'm totally okay with being like, hey, can you push this button for me because I'm not legally allowed to push this stupid button? I can deal with the consequences of pushing the button, but no, I can't physically push the button. It's very weird, the terms here. Last week, I had to get someone to print out an article for me from InfoWars because I can't go to InfoWars.
My God. Are you serious?
Yeah, when I was released, I was, it's basically a whitelist system. I was forbidden from any internet access. I wasn't allowed any unauthorized devices. And it took about 3 days. You know how much it sucks not being able to have any
It sucks
internet?
for me to even listen to you talk about it. I can't believe you're going through that. I can't believe, I can't
Dude,
believe.
it was worse.
Oh, my God.
It was so much worse the first 3 days. Couldn't listen to Spotify, couldn't watch Netflix, couldn't have any. I had to unplug my internet modem. But that was my attorney's advice.
Because clearly, if you watch Netflix, then you will somehow, by doing so, orchestrate a massive global financial empire.
I don't know what it was just keeping me off the internet, right?
You know what? Just to get back at these guys a little bit, and I'm sure they hate me too. I mean, they kept me in handcuffs for 4 hours for a reason, so I guess that means they didn't like me. One of the things they said to me when they were interviewing me in the kitchen, tied to a chair, is they were very extra interested in knowing about Monero.
Really?
Yeah, they mentioned Monero to me a couple of times, and I am a huge Monero fan.
As am I.
But the fact that, and the look on their faces said that they didn't know what they were talking about, but that was definitely a buzzword around the office for them. So if you love liberty out there in liberty-loving land, get yourself some Monero, because clearly the powers that be are naming it specifically, and they are clearly threatened by it. So let's get the Monero flowing.
I'm not surprised because Monero is an actual privacy coin.
Privacy coin.
And Bitcoin isn't.
Well, I'm in favor of privacy coins, and I think that privacy is... So I think there are going to be specific niches for cryptocurrencies, and one of them is a privacy coin. Now, I won't hold on to Monero because they keep printing it. I will trade with it, though. I think it's sort of a quick in, quick out, and it's very useful for that.
What do you mean they keep printing it?
Well, so the way that Monero holds on to its value isn't by having an absolute maximum of how much Monero there will ever be.
Right.
It is by having a specific schedule of how frequently they create more and more of it.
Okay, so there's no cap on it like there is with Bitcoin. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I wasn't even aware of that.
This is how I understand Monero. The way it works is that whereas...
You're wearing a Monero shirt, by the way.
No,
it's not.
It's something else.
It's the exact same
it's
logo.
really close, isn't it?
It is very similar.
Yeah. We can say
Wrong
it is
colors,
for the show.
though.
Definitely. I do have a Monero shirt upstairs, though, and you're right. The logo is very, very similar. So the way I understand that Monero works is, whereas other cryptocurrencies, when you send it, it goes through a pipe and comes out on the other side. Whereas with Monero, when you send it, it burns itself, destroys itself, and reappears as a new crypto, a new coin on the other side. So there's no middle to trace. There's no middle path to follow along. It's not there.
So it's sort of the like with a normal currency, you're walking through the snow and you can sort of watch the steps. And this one is
Great
more of
analogy.
a Star Trek level teleporter.
Great analogy. Yes.
So I'm actually a really big fan of Zcash, which is another privacy coin, but it has an ultimate cap.
Well, what I understand about Zcash and its derivatives is that, or most of its derivatives, is that it is not necessarily a privacy coin. Like Dash has a privacy function but you have to turn it on. Whereas with Zcash, it's very similar. Am I right, Chris? Yeah. Chris Wade's here in the studio with us, and he's I've been doing my homework on this stuff a little bit.
One of these Zcash derivatives is Hush, and they are working on default shielded transactions, and those would be the default privacy coins.
Yeah, Hush might be another one to look at. I mean, we know the developers of Hush in real life, and we know that they are pro-freedom people. So
and very much dedicated to privacy.
And very dedicated. The purpose of Hush isn't so much as a coin, it's a messaging service that is bulletproof, completely quiet. Like you can't get into those conversations from outside.
That's certainly beneficial because, Signal has its problems, Telegram has its problems, Wire has its problems.
Yeah.
The list goes on and on. I think there was Keybase recently, and then they got bought out by, who was it? Who bought them out? It was
probably Google.
I think it was Zoom.
Zoom,
actually.
No kidding.
I think Zoom bought out Keybase. I don't recall, but either way, the privacy function of it's gutted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody turns to not everybody. Every non-libertarian turns to WhatsApp for an encrypted messaging platform.
Oh my God.
For some reason, believing that Facebook is going to actually encrypt their stuff and not give itself backdoors.
Clearly Facebook's on our side. Why else would they be making a cryptocurrency?
I don't know to what extent
they would never work with the FBI. I mean, obviously.
Get out there. If you have some cryptocurrency in a wallet sitting around, it's Bitcoin or whatever, Bitcoin the dinosaur. A lot of wallets will allow you to swap currencies right inside the wallet. So if you're having a hard time finding a place to buy Monero, build a miner and let it run in your basement and forget about it. There you go. There's some Monero. And other than that, you can just swap it in your wallet to something else.
It is difficult to acquire Monero in the United States. As far as I'm aware, the only licensed cryptocurrency exchange that sells Monero is Kraken.
Oh.
I think that Binance, Coinbase, and Gemini all refuse to support it. Binance.com, if you're a non-U.S. citizen, will sell you Monero, but Binance.us won't.
Oh, interesting.
Ironic, since they're the ones that are under investigation for hiding money.
Binance is?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen anything about that.
Yep.
But I mean, obviously, my ability to access
you mean you haven't heard all of the things that are going on in all of the different places that you're not allowed to look?
It could be political too, because isn't Binance a Chinese operation?
I don't know.
Is it?
I think Binance is a Chinese operation, and I could be wrong. And Coinbase is like the American counterpart to it.
Coinbase, I believe, is the biggest of the three.
Yeah. It's the oldest anyway.
Yeah.
It's for sure the oldest. It's the one everybody knows. I remember when we used to wear Coinbase T-shirts telling people they needed to get a Coinbase account. Then they basically turned into the United States government. So the new Rothschild Bank of crypto.
So you mentioned just having a miner in the basement. I'm wondering at this point, like, is that reasonable? Like, what does it actually take in order to mine one of these things?
It's going to cost you more in electricity to mine than it is what you'll get back. But we know that if you're mining a good coin and the values are going up in a year.
I'm just wondering if it takes like just a graphics card or like a whole lot of equipment for it.
We'll talk about it more when we come back.
All right, sounds good.
What are your thoughts? Are you ready to jump ship and abandon Bitcoin? 603-283-6160. Let us know what you think. 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
The Terran Federation and the Terran League have been killing each other for decades. Sheltered, wealthy, and light years from the threat, the members of the 500 have no interest in changing that. When Rear Admiral Terrence Murphy is given governorship of a backwater system, a risk-free path to wealth and power is his for the taking. But Murphy is a man of honor, duty, and responsibility. He intends to stop the killing, whatever the cost. Governor, by David Weber and Richard Fox, from BaneBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Free Talk Live.
Are you saying there's something wrong with a gay couple adopting children?
Absolutely.
What could possibly be wrong about that?
Then the children are going to be raised by queers instead of by,
You are homophobic, aren't you, Tom?
No.
So.
But anyway.
What's wrong with them being raised by gay people?
Because gay people are unfit to raise children.
How dare you?
I object a lot. I had a friend who was adopted by gay parents, and he grew up just fine with completely normal values, and he's a very normal, functioning member of society.
I've met plenty of gay people in my time who I thought would make fantastic parents and would be far better parents than many of the white trash parents that are out there raising kids today. Tom, do you know any gay people?
I try not to, but...
Yeah, well, that figures. And you're about done. Thanks for the call.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. You can call in and talk about anything you want. Again, that's 603-283-6160. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria,
Matt,
and Beakless Mountaineer.
And we've been talking about various cryptocurrencies and the merits of one cryptocurrency versus another. Obviously, each cryptocurrency sort of has its own function, its own utility. Bitcoin is the big dog. That's where it's most usable as an asset. Consider it to be more like a stock that one invests in than anything that's usable as a currency. Bitcoin Cash, in contrast, is actually usable as a currency.
Yeah, Bitcoin's basically nothing but a standard bearer at this point. The technology's old, and basically anything, Doge is based on Bitcoin, Litecoin's based on Bitcoin. And if you try to send Doge, you notice that the transaction fees are pretty high already. Mm-hmm. And it's not even a serious, crypto.
Yeah, they are already approaching the problems of Bitcoin and none of the advantages.
Correct. Yeah.
Like, there's also no cap. And there's a couple of guys who can crash it whenever they feel like.
Yep. Yeah. So it's not really, it shouldn't be taken seriously. I wish people would start veering away from Bitcoin and get into a better coin. There's tons of cryptocurrencies out there, and a lot of them are really interesting. They have side functions that have nothing to do with serving as a transfer of value, just contracts and there's all kinds of things out there.
Yeah, apparently
sky's the limit.
Apparently, Bitcoin Cash has just made a hard fork that succeeded. So everyone went with it. That has given them the ability to do Ethereum-like contracts. So.
Oh, that happened. Oh. That happened in like 2019, I believe it was.
I didn't hear about it. That's awesome.
This was something new.
This allowed for the creation of local.bitcoin.com. Because the Bitcoin Cash blockchain now is able to hold funds in escrow using a smart contract, and when the conditions are met, to release those funds automatically.
That's fantastic.
Nice.
So that did
Is that
happen.
a Roger Ver thing?
I mean, he was largely behind Bitcoin.com. I think he stepped away from it as of late, but
he's a genius. In Ver we trust.
Nice guy.
I like him.
But Bitcoin Cash did try to split into like Bitcoin Cash 123 or ABC or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember. It was some kind of nonsense, and it didn't seem like it was going to be successful, and it turned out it wasn't.
Yeah, the interesting thing about cryptocurrencies is, and right from the very, very beginning, we said this would happen, and it was a good thing. It might seem like a wonky kind of thing. It's something we're not used to because that's not the way government money works. But we knew that there was going to be competition, and
Certainly.
we needed for there to be competition. There has to be competition, or you wind up with a monopoly.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely,
and that's so. I think that part of why they're pumping up Doge right now is so that people have an idea of this is the other Bitcoin, so that when they feel the need to do so, they can just destroy the entire thing, and people go, "Oh well, cryptocurrency. I mean, there's the kind you can't spend, and there's the kind that breaks."
Right? Yeah, right. They're trying to sabotage. I wouldn't doubt it. I think the cat's out of the bag, and it's too late for that.
Yeah.
There's a strong history. Tesla, even though they recently stopped, they successfully accepted Bitcoin for many, many years. Bitcoin, what's the David Byrne's company? Overstock.com.
Mm-hmm.
Not David Byrne. Is it David Byrne? No, that's the lead singer of the Talking Heads.
I forget the guy. I can picture the face.
Patrick
But yeah,
Byrne.
Overstock was like the first major company to accept cryptocurrency.
Yes, and they did so. When that opened up, I bought a whole bunch of stuff, and I bet he still has every single Bitcoin, every single Satoshi I sent him.
Well, Bitcoin is usable at a lot of places, but it's often through a payment processor like BitPay or something like that. So the end company isn't really like Newegg. Technically takes Bitcoin, but they really don't.
Right.
They just support BitPay.
You can get Amazon stuff if you use Purse.io.
And if you're willing to wait a little bit longer.
Right.
But there's Valve, the gaming platform, the gaming company that owns Steam, used to take Bitcoin.
Yeah,
They
I forgot
stopped
about
taking it because the Bitcoin fees made it unusable.
Yep, there it is. I wish they didn't just stop taking cryptocurrency and just switch to a better cryptocurrency.
That would have been better.
Yeah, and they're out there. Bitcoin Cash was one. Bitcoin Cash was altered from Bitcoin a little bit so that it didn't have those old problems as much.
Yeah, and it's weird because you have a figure like Peter Schiff, who is like, well, I mean, you can just make all these new cryptocurrencies, and yes, you can, but that doesn't mean anyone's running them. That doesn't mean they actually have a network.
Right.
And as much as like that's, oh, well, you can just make an infinite number of cryptocurrencies, that's actually the strength because you can't compromise the system.
I can't believe he, of all people, doesn't get that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's one of those things where if you come to know so much about one subject, then you just start seeing everything through the lens of that subject.
That's a good point.
I mean, man, he knows what he's talking about when it comes to the legacy financial system and to precious metals. Like he knows exactly what he's talking about when it comes. Like that's why he predicted the 2008 crash in exact detail. But that much knowledge has kind of become a burden because it's his framework for seeing reality.
And luckily, it was the 2008 recession that caused the creation of cryptocurrency.
Correct. Nobody reads all these talking heads and all these new people to crypto that are acting, Mark Cuban and Elon Musk and, there are cultural experts on cryptocurrency. They don't know anything. And you can tell they for sure have never read Satoshi's white paper.
Or any of the newsletters.
Or any of the newsletters, yeah.
Honestly, I think Elon is like crypto for hipsters. Like, see, we didn't get in on your Bitcoin like a bunch of nerds, but see, we're going to the moon anyway.
I'm kind of glad they're getting the word out there.
And we're going to be green about it.
Yeah. That's the best part.
Yeah, never mind that Bitcoin, which, does use a lot of electricity, still uses less than the regular money system does.
That's right.
Oh, and B, if this actually becomes the dominant world currency, so war as we know it is over, and the world's largest polluter, the U.S. military, can't function this way anymore. So,
all other militaries would have a heck of a time functioning as well.
Yeah.
It's not a...
I mean, to me, the proof that he doesn't know what he's talking about is that he didn't turn around and promote a proof of stake coin. Because proof of stake doesn't utilize nearly the amount of electricity that proof of work does, but he probably doesn't even know what proof of work means.
Know that there's two different
things.
things.
Doge a proof of work?
I don't know.
It's just a Bitcoin clone, so
presumably, yeah.
So it's a proof of work. So, see, it doesn't use as much. Yeah, because no one's using it.
It's also worthless. Well, not anymore. I'm so used to calling Dogecoin worthless, right?
Jeez.
Because it was a joke coin.
I am sincerely looking forward to it being worth more than $1.
So am I. Yep.
Oh, me. I mean, I'm not going to tell you that I'm not riding the wave, but man, it's garbage.
It's
I
total
will
garbage.
ride this trash right into the sunset.
I just really look forward to a joke being more valuable than the dollar.
Absolutely, yes. Two Doge there. If you had 2 Doge, you had more than $1 worth of value.
That's true.
That's how bad the dollar is.
USD is officially worth 2 jokes.
Yes.
Yeah, and I actually watched the SNL where he basically did severe damage to the entire cryptocurrency network. And the one good joke that I remember was guys got a US dollar, an actual physical one. He's like, so it's not real. More real than that thing.
He said that?
Yeah.
I missed it.
I want to hear more about this episode because I'm told that, it damaged cryptocurrency, and I want to know how and why because I haven't seen it. 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. Local.bitcoin.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. Of course, you're welcome to call in and join the conversation. 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line for you to do that. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria.
I'm Matt.
And Bigless Mountaineer.
And we're talking about cryptocurrency, one of my favorite things, and one of the things that I am not allowed to use at the moment.
Boo.
Yeah, I can't access
It's
it, can't
ridiculous.
buy it, can't sell it, can't even open my wallets to see what I have. Can't even have my wallets installed onto my phone. I didn't realize prior to this how much in my daily life I actually used cryptocurrency,
Yeah.
because this is Keene, New Hampshire, right? This is crypto.
Could you imagine
Mecca.
if somebody got, arrested for suspicion of something to do with dollars and they let them out on bail and told them they couldn't use dollars?
Yeah.
Do you think that
would be-
happens?
that would
You're
be
not
pretty
allowed to
brutal.
go to the bank. I mean, if you were a bank robber or something, you actually walked into a bank with a gun at some point and then they told you couldn't go to a bank anymore, that would make sense.
Yeah, but we didn't. I didn't rob a bank.
Yeah.
So here's kind of what I think of it as.
That's an excellent point, though. I'm going to mention that to my attorney.
Yeah.
So I mean,
That's what I'm here for.
If you look at the story where Jesus throws over the tables, right? So
Sure.
now the circumstance for that is that you have to change your dirty Roman money into temple shekels, and basically you are in a situation where you live inside their temple, and they will not let you use the other money.
Yes,
you must use our temple shekels.
Well,
And as
not
time
to
has
be
gone
overly
on-
dramatic, but sure, I'm the Jesus that went in and tried to flip the table.
Yeah, except instead of Jesus, it's a boy who's a girl and is a Satanist.
Yeah.
Funny how that works. But yeah,
Reforms.
also, you're not allowed to leave the temple. You can't leave the U.S. You can't use anything other than their currency.
I had no desire to leave the temple. I was making plans to go to, I think it was Thailand at some point, but it was just to visit and then come right back. And now I can't do that. And so, I mean, that sucks, but I'm not as restricted as, like, I've looked at the conditions that are available on Pacer for Ian, and he's going to be basically under house arrest.
Yeah.
I'm not. I can come and go from the state of New Hampshire as I please.
Well, that's because he's a diabolical mastermind.
Yeah.
I will never. That's my response as well.
With
I
no
will never-
ties to New Hampshire.
I will never get over Ian being a mastermind. I'm like, this is the same dude who, like, once a month stands in the shower and just shaves his entire body from head to toe. This is your criminal mastermind.
Yeah.
I love Ian to death, right? But
I think
the depiction they're painting of him is just so far from who Ian is as a person.
Ian bought a car like 10 years ago, and I think he's put like 82 miles on it.
No, he's at least done that on the trip to Porkfest.
Yeah, right. Other than that, if we exclude Porkfest trips, I think that car is like, yeah, it's
like
not.
He doesn't leave Keene, let alone New Hampshire. Are you kidding me?
It may be getting driven more now than it did when he was out. So anyway, that's funny. Good point.
No ties to New Hampshire. None whatsoever.
Just a radio show here and a liberty migration that he's been pushing for 15 years.
Yeah.
But,
he doesn't even want to go into Massachusetts.
No one wants to go into Massachusetts.
I know. He doesn't want to go to Vermont. I've offered to take him. I'm like, New York's a beautiful place. It's a miserable tyranny, but I mean, as far as a beautiful natural place is, you should come to my mom's house and visit. Nope, not leaving. I'm not going past Vermont. You can't get him out of here.
And beware, the mastermind has a novelty passport.
That's right. Oh my. Anyway,
I was shocked, but I did laugh when I saw that he has to surrender that novelty passport in order for his release to be secured. Yeah, so.
I tell him that they cost me $100 and you're gonna have to give me $100 and I will release that to you. What we
Well, Ian wants to be out of jail, so I don't blame him one bit for accepting.
Yeah, if you told them that, they'd go, okay, we can keep you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's the way they work. There's no negotiating with terrorists.
That is
because
the
the terrorists won't really allow you to negotiate with them.
Pretty much. But getting back to our earlier conversation, I did want to find out. So I know that in sort of like Bitcoin core culture, a big thing for them was like, no, you've got to stake your own node. You've got to be mining your own Bitcoins because that's how we're going to do a peer-to-peer system. And from what I understand, it's just with Bitcoin Core especially, it's just gotten insane the amount of processing power that people are using to mine these things. So, I mean, you mentioned with Monero just like set up something in the basement, and I wondered like what kind of hardware do you even need for that?
Well, there's I'm not an expert. I learned a lot this week though, so I'll pass that to you. Take it for what it's worth. There are two different types of miners, two different types of coins, basically. So Monero is what's called an ASIC resistant coin.
What is an ASIC?
ASIC is a type of computer language programming. Go for it.
I don't remember what the acronym stands for, but it basically means it's designed specifically to mine Bitcoin or some other cryptocurrency.
Okay, right. Gotcha. So Bitcoin is an ASIC mineable coin.
Okay.
It requires a lot of computing power. The best way to generate that computing power is by using a video card.
Okay.
So that's why Bitcoin miners are well known for soaking up tons of video cards, and all the gamers get mad that they can't get video cards.
The only video card you can find right now is about $900.
Okay, that's probably because everybody's building a mining rig to mine Bitcoin. It's gotten more popular.
But why would you build a miner for $500 of a graphics card? That's not going to do it. I mean, that'll do it if you're mining like Vertcoin or Ravencoin
right,
or something.
And that's what a lot of people end up doing.
And I'm sure part of why it is now is because we have a major shortage of silicon chips right now. Because like everything in the world got shut down, and turns out making silicon chips isn't essential. Never mind the fact that we use silicon chips
fishy
for
about that with me.
bloody everything in life.
But to continue, Monero is an ASIC resistant coin, and it doesn't require a video card to it can't use a video card for that purpose. So what you need is a really, really strong processor.
Gotcha.
So basically, if you had a gaming computer and you took the video card out of it, you'd have a great mining rig for Monero. So I just spent about $700 to build this mining rig. My friend put it together for me and stuck in the basement and made it go. And it's just sitting down there ticking away. It's got cool lights that you put on it and stuff, but that's all I know about it.
Because as I've seen it, like there are sort of somewhat distinct subcultures within the cryptocurrency culture. And like a big part of the Bitcoin core crowd is having your own miner. And
I don't know how true that is anymore. I think now they're all about, hodling and making off with as much wealth as they can.
Hodling is a huge part of the Bitcoin core crowd thing, and I'm much more of the sort of Bitcoin Cash crowd, where like what we brag about is not how much we've held on to, but hey, look at these places I can spend this.
Yep.
Look at me actually buying real goods and services like a real currency.
Yep. Yeah, and in my experience spending cryptocurrency just here in town. I go to the barber here locally and he accepts crypto. I pay him in Bitcoin Cash. That's what he likes.
Nice.
He knows that if we spend Bitcoin with him, it could very well not show up at all. Might get kicked back to me and he might not get paid.
The last time I used Bitcoin, it was at Wilder Automotive, and it was for like a $1,200 bill. So the $5 fee didn't make a difference in that.
Right.
But yeah, if it was going to be a $10 lunch,
yeah,
Bitcoin is useless for that.
Yeah, gone are the days. I mean, I remember back when I first heard of Bitcoin, one of the former hosts of Free Talk Live here, Nemi, she actually paid for 2 tacos with Bitcoin, 24 Bitcoin for 2 tacos.
Wow.
So that's a kind of a legend, and there's a ton of those stories.
Oh yeah, and
I know, but
hey, and the anniversary is this Thursday of the Great Pizza purchase.
Oh, that's right, that's coming up.
Yeah, I think that's Thursday.
How many Bitcoin did they charge for those 2 pizzas?
An absurd amount.
I think it was 10,000 total.
Yeah, 10,000 Bitcoin for, was it 1 pizza?
It was 2 pizzas. But I mean, it wasn't an absurd amount back then.
Didn't they order it
because they were worth like nothing at the time.
I think they ordered the pizzas at Papa John's, but they were in England and they ordered them to an address in New York, right?
I don't remember all of the details about it, but I don't think the restaurant themselves actually took them. I think somebody gave someone else.
Right. Yeah, the delivery, the guy who answered the phone is loaded right now.
Yeah, and I'm amazed that no like DoorDash or anything has picked up cryptocurrency yet.
I also am, because I mean it's a prime opportunity for it.
Absolutely.
And plus it's touchless. I'd expect it to be more popular in place of this.
Totally.
In light of this pandemic we have going on. It's Free Talk Live.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live with Arya, Matt, and Peakless Mountaineer talking about cryptocurrency. One of probably all of our favorite subjects, really. We were talking about mining, and I've got some experience with mining. I mined a bunch of Ravencoin over the last year, sort of off and on, but it generated, I think, a few thousand Ravencoin, but Ravencoin was basically worthless. It was just this up-and-coming coin. It wasn't even worth a penny, and now it's at like 19 cents or something like that. Can't touch it, but hey,
it's there.
It's there waiting on me one day.
Mm-hmm.
So looking forward to that. And who knows, maybe it'll be even more valuable then. Apparently, there's actually some really good reasons to stand behind Ravencoin other than the fact that it's an X16R token, which means it's GPU and CPU mineable. So it's also ASIC resistant.
Right. I think the Ravencoin is a clone of Monero, isn't it? Isn't it like they clone it and they switch it around a little bit and they improve some things and so forth?
I don't know. I didn't get into it because I was happy about its technology or anything like that. I was like, oh, I can mine that.
Yeah.
My computer's not being used for anything else. I might as well mine something.
Right on.
So that's what I
picked. If you got a computer sitting, like an old desktop.
Well, mine's a full-blown gaming piece, so it mined a ton of Ravencoin very quickly.
Yeah. So mine, the one I just built is basically, it's built just like a gaming PC. In fact, my buddy who built it for me says, when this is like out of date for, mining Monero, you can just like slap a video card in it and sell it as a gaming PC. It'll be a great gaming PC.
Nice.
Like, okay, so that's where it's going to go.
I think you mentioned Vertcoin is another one of those where like it doesn't take that much computing power. I don't know anything about this thing. I just know that I ran across like a website that took a bunch of them, and that was one of the a bunch of cryptos that it would take for membership, and that was one of the ones I'd never heard of.
Vertcoin used to sponsor Call to Freedom, which was a show on LRN that I helped host.
Gotcha.
And was in charge of briefly after Will Culley left. They seemed to be doing some really good things. The people in charge of it, they were MIT students. They were doing great work. And then it just sort of seems to have gone haywire. The project continues on, but the value of it just dropped through the roof. A lot of people lost a lot of money because of it. And it's never really recovered. And I don't think it's ever really going to. It's just going to be another one of those, oh, well, we tried.
What's the utility like, though? And does it need constant development? That's what my question is. Do cryptocurrencies really need constant development, or can we saw Satoshi invent Bitcoin, and then we saw him disappear, and then we saw the problems that it had.
Like I was saying earlier, I think there are different niches for different Bitcoins, or rather for different cryptocurrencies. Like Bitcoin holds the like store of value, pretend it's gold, and it's going to be really hard to unseat because it's the Kleenex of facial tissues.
Right.
So I think it's going to hold on to that maybe forever, probably not just because that's life, but for a good long time, it's going to be the store of value coin. Bitcoin Cash is one of the ones that competes in the currency market. Like, we want you to spend this at actual places. Whereas Ethereum is really, really diving into functionality.
I wish Ethereum would die off, though.
Me too. I tried to tip a kid. I had, if you ever had a crypto wallet and you just wanted to move it all out of one crypto into another, and that always leaves that little residual 0.0002 Satoshis in the well, every time you do that, the price of cryptocurrency goes up, and you look in that stupid wallet, and there's $5 worth of Ethereum in it when you try, so that 0.0002 ended up becoming worth, $3. So I tried to tip a kid $10 worth of Ethereum in a random wallet, and I wanted to tip my waiter in Ethereum just to get rid of it again.
Sure.
I wanted to tip him $5. The fee was gonna be $5.
Oh, I believe it, man. Ethereum has so many tokens and so many of them being valuable that the gas fees for Ethereum, that's the cost it takes to send the transaction, are just through the roof, and they have been for a long time. I needed to send like $1,300 in US dollar tethers, which is a ERC20 token. It's an Ethereum token, and it cost me. It was going to cost me almost $200 to do it.
Unbelievable!
It
makes the coin totally useless. But the great thing about cryptocurrency is, unlike government issued currency, we don't have to keep using it. It's not the only thing. There's other ones out there. We use those instead.
Like Bitcoin Cash, it now has
Bitcoin
these smart
Cash.
token systems.
Right. So, and that's the thing. So what Ethereum's really been concentrating on is development. Like, they want to be able to do all the tips and tricks and all these little special functions, all the bells and whistles, which is, I think, a completely different niche. So, like, they're not in the store of value niche. They're not in the spendability niche. They're in the increasing technology niche, I guess. And I think,
which I guess is good. They do have some cool projects like Golem and some others, which basically allow people to rent other people's processing power to compile like Adobe 3D art projects and stuff like that. So that's cool. I don't know whether or not it actually works, but it's made possible by, Ethereum. But the same could be done on Bitcoin Cash, and people wouldn't be paying, $5 fees to move $5 worth of Golem.
Right. And it really is just a matter of like, so Bitcoin Core has a bunch of miners right now. Bitcoin Cash doesn't. Ethereum has a bunch of developers. Bitcoin Cash doesn't. But at any given time, if either of those groups decides to move over to it, then you will see the functionality, the bells and whistles explode in Bitcoin Cash. And because it's functioning as a currency, and the people who are holding on to it and who are mining it are probably going to very, very strenuously maintain that spendability. So then it'll end up having all these bells and whistles and be a good an actual currency.
Yeah, and Roger Ver is no slouch when it comes to, being innovative.
We would hope that these other currencies would hold their utility, their usefulness as a currency as they became more popular and more valuable and better developed. But Bitcoin Core kind of suggests that greed would take over and be like, no, we can just drive the value through the roof and screw all the people who want to actually use it as money.
I think it's more than greed. Honestly, I think that enough of the existing establishment of finance owns Bitcoin that they can decide how big the block size is. And since most of their investments are in non-cryptocurrency, then they want to slow down the shift from US dollar as the world reserve currency to cryptocurrency as the world reserve currency. They want to slow that down as much as possible. So they specifically voted to, no, we're going to keep the block size nice and big so that you can't actually spend this as dollars.
That's one of the few things that Bitcoin SV, which is a fork of Bitcoin Cash, did correctly. It removed the block size definition. So whatever your processor can put out there, that's how big your block can be. It opens up competition among miners so that they're competing with each other to get our transactions instead of forcing us to pay higher transaction fees, competing with each other to get them to recognize us.
Yeah, that's a really interesting culture as well. So like one of the things, like part of why I was asking you, what does it take to mine these things? So like big proponents of Bitcoin SV, like when you join their little club, they'll just send you a bunch of it. Like, here, have some money. It's kind of like a digital version of the love bomb, if you're familiar with that tactic.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, like, how difficult would it be to like introduce someone to something like Bitcoin Cash and be like, well, now that I've introduced you to this, here, now you can mine it.
That would be cool. I don't know about the prospects of mining Bitcoin Cash, but you can certainly mine Monero or something like that. But I mean, you can't just be like, you can mine Monero on your cell phone. You can't. they have to invest in some hardware and actually put in some work to make that happen.
Right. You need some processing power.
But you could always just be like, okay, here's some Monero, or here's some Bitcoin Cash, or here's some whatever currency of your value is, currency of your choosing is. Ian did that here for years. He ran competitions. Well, they weren't really competitions, but giveaways rather, where he would give anyone who never had a crypto wallet before $25 in Bitcoin and $25 in Bitcoin Cash.
He would take out ads in the local paper.
Yes, to give
for the
people,
purpose to give people money.
Yes,
Right.
and every month a lucky winner got, I think it was 250 in Bitcoin and 250 in Bitcoin Cash.
Mhm.
Just giving it away to people.
I
to
hope
try
those
to
people
get
know
them-
where it is.
I do too, because one Bitcoin Cash, I mean, $250 a year ago was one Bitcoin Cash, which is like, what, $1,200,
Yeah.
$1,300 a day?
Mm-hmm.
So if they held on to that,
They're doing
it was
okay.
a good choice.
Absolutely.
My suggestions for people last year was to, hey, that government stimulus check you just got, take that, buy Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah.
And anyone who did on that first round of stimulus checks saw that value increase. I don't even know what it would be by now.
Right.
Somewhere around 7 to 8 times.
Yeah, the thing about Satoshi vision that I don't like is everything that Craig Wright says. That dude is so creepy. And
I was
he
just
is-
going to say that.
He is the Pope of Satoshi vision. He really
What
is.
is Satoshi vision?
SV, Bitcoin SV.
Oh.
That's
Craig
what the
Wright's
SV stands
the
for.
big backing voice behind that.
I knew that,
never
yeah.
trusted that guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's a liar.
I like Bitcoin SV, but I don't like the guy who pumps it.
No, he's a liar and he's conniving, and there's no reason to believe he's Satoshi. The only good positive thing I can say about Bitcoin SV is that it removed the block size definitions. I've been arguing for that for years.
Which is important.
What are your thoughts? 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
A newly recruited search and rescue officer, Marshall Hunter was resigned to a life of rescuing wayward spacefarers and derelict satellites. But when a billionaire couple goes missing, his own ship is disabled during the rescue. With communication satellites suddenly failing and lunar mineral shipments disappearing in transit, the crew suspects it's more than a coincidence, and Hunter must choose between salvation and sacrifice to save his crewmates and their civilian charges. Frontier by Patrick Childs and BingBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
A major energy pipeline shut down by a cyber attack. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. Colonial Pipeline says it was targeted by a ransomware attack that forced it to temporarily shut down a pipeline that stretches from the Gulf of Mexico to New York. The company did not say what was demanded or by whom. Tennessee Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn is calling for improvements to the nation's energy infrastructure.
We have had a Department of Energy cybersecurity project at Oak Ridge Lab
labs, and I've been pushing to bring all of our national labs into a consortium to work on this, because securing our nation's critical infrastructure is going to be an imperative because of these bad actors that are out there.
Energy analysts say the impact on fuel supplies and prices depends on how long the pipeline is shut down. Deportations have reached an all-time low as a record surge of new migrants and asylum seekers continues at the southern border. Fox's Bill Malusian in Del Rio, Texas.
Border Patrol reporting that just here in Del Rio in the past week alone, they've been averaging 740 apprehensions every single day. The local sheriff here telling us he's never seen it worse and that human smugglers have been taking advantage. A semi-truck that got pulled over by local police after folks out there reported seeing people in the back of the truck. Police pull it over and there were dozens of migrants in the back of that semi.
Customs officials report 162,000 migrants were detained in April, but about 30,000 got away. 3 people were dead, including a suspect, and 2 others are injured after a shooting and fire in Maryland. Baltimore County Police say officers found an armed man outside a burning home in Woodlawn and shot him. The fire damaged 2 other homes. America is listening to Fox News.
Finally, get curcumin and CoQ10 together. Stop Aging Now brings you CoQ10 Ultra to fight inflammation and energize your body. Get a 30-day supply for 40% off plus free shipping with promo code FOX. Power and protect your cells for a strong heart, sharp brain, pain-free joints, and more. Nancy from West Virginia raves, CoQ10 Ultra helps me stay mentally and physically fit. Only from Stop Aging Now. Get 40% off plus free shipping right now. Go to stopagingnow.com and use code FOX.
The Equality Act is stalling out in the U.S. Senate. Democrats had hoped they could pass the legislation creating new protections for LGBTQ Americans this year, but Republicans warn it would open the floodgates for transgender athletes to play on female sports teams. A large piece of a Chinese rocket from a launch last month is expected to fall back to Earth this weekend. Fox's Jill Nato reports.
A 23-ton rocket core careening out of orbit and headed for Earth. We don't know where it's going to hit, but researchers think they have an idea as to when. The Center for Orbital Reentry and Debris Study says it'll be around 04:19 Greenwich Mean Time. That's 12:19 a.m. Eastern Time Sunday, give or take 8 hours. Because the Earth is mostly covered with water, chances are it'll hit an ocean. And some scientists believe as much as 40% of it will get burned up in the atmosphere. But if it hits land, whatever's left of it is bound to leave a mark. Jill Nato, Fox News.
At least 30 people were dead after a bomb exploded near a girls' school west of Kabul. The Taliban condemned the attack, and there's been no claim of responsibility. A well-known billionaire hosting tonight's Saturday Night Live show on NBC.
Tesla and SpaceX billionaire Elon Musk will take the stage this evening to try his hand at hosting the iconic show, which also features Miley Cyrus as musical guest. The announcement of Musk as Saturday Night Live host has drawn criticism on social media.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
This is the Onion Week in Review. Apparently oblivious of the dismal fiscal climate, local dog Digby is wolfing down kibble as if the United States isn't in a goddamn economic crisis. Sources say the shockingly selfish 4-year-old German Shepherd appears callously unswayed by the constant stream of gloomy market forecasts and continues gorging on brand-name pet foods, milk bones, and table scraps as if the U.S. unemployment rate hasn't been above 8% for the past 3 years.
here we are tightening our belts while this dog scarfs down bowl after bowl like the Dow Jones Industrial Average has gone through the roof or something. You think that he'd think twice since U.S. credit rating's been downgraded, but Digby doesn't give a damn. Ain't that right, Digby? You don't give a flying do you?
The Onion solemnly bids farewell to the 22 crew members who perished during the production of today's Week in Review. You will be missed. For more, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. Tonight you have Aria, Pickless Mountaineer, and Matt in the studio. Been talking about cryptocurrency, but I want to circle back to, well, we're still going to be talking about cryptocurrency, really, Saturday Night Live. Because I don't watch Saturday Night Live, and I don't think I had since I was in like junior high.
Same.
So Saturday Night Live has always been mostly terrible with some moments of extreme hilarity. And it has just gotten so bad. I mean, all comedy has pretty much been destroyed in recent years anyway.
Yeah, because you can't say anything offensive.
Right.
Unless you're Dave Chappelle.
But even
Doug Stanhope.
he got grilled for it.
I know.
I laughed my ass off through it.
I thought it was great.
Mm-hmm.
I think
because he's not wrong. It sucks, but it's kind of funny.
Ever the conspiracy theorist here, so buyer beware. Your mileage may vary, but I think
tinfoil hat in place.
Totally. I think we are being fed a line that this extremely small vocal minority is a bigger crowd of people than it actually is.
Oh, absolutely.
I think everybody loved Chappelle. I think
I don't even think that's a conspiracy. I think it's overblown because they're the loudest ones. But I thought that everyone assumed that they were just this loud vocal minority.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so I'm a big student of history. And what we are going through right now is almost shot for shot identical to what happened in the USSR, except instead of the ideology of this grand experiment of Marxism, it's this ideology of what we would call wokeness. The whole microaggressions and the social justice warrior stuff, all of that, it's always propped up by the largest companies, which, I mean, let's be honest. In the modern world, these mega corporations are nothing more or less than an extension of government power.
Absolutely.
I mean, they rely on government power in order to keep their markets. They are completely regulated in every way on everything that they do. They're constantly being brought in front of Congress to say, oh, well, you need to justify your behavior here, 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 and here. So, and this idea of what people are supposed to be, it's always being spouted by the mainstream media, by the little checkmark Twitter people, the CIA. Have you seen those?
I have not.
Oh, so one is especially famous yes, I am a woman of color and CIA such and such. But yeah, no, CIA.
CIA?
Yeah, the CIA.
As a Central Intelligence?
That's the one. They came out with a series of woke-based commercials.
The CIA did?
Oh yeah. They're trying to use them as a recruiting tactic.
For the CIA.
Yes.
The CIA is having a hard time finding people to hire.
Well,
thank goodness for that.
Apparently everyone is right now anyway.
Okay.
I mean, hard to compete with free. And as better men than I have pointed out, when you are being paid $15 an hour to do nothing, and a job offers you $17 an hour, then you're working for $2 an hour. So it's pretty hard to get someone to actually work for that little amount of money. And
that's true. And I want to point out again, all of the leftists out there pointing out, oh, well, your company just isn't paying enough then. You should be able to compete with these unemployment rates. You can't compete with the federal government that can just print money out of thin air. Businesses who pay their employees have to actually earn money.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The federal government doesn't. It could cut you a $600 check every single week, $800, $1,000. It really doesn't matter. It can do it. Your business owner can't.
Yep. Hard to compete with free. But yeah, so one major part of this is that whole mandatory politeness, basically. like legally enforced
And
politeness.
the people who are demanding it are some of the least polite people I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
They're disgusting.
Well, there's nothing polite about it forcing anyone to do anything in the first place.
Right. And another leg of this is the response to COVID. Like, it is not polite to not wear a mask. It is not polite to be within 6 feet of someone. It is certainly not polite to question Fauci or to question whether you should wear a mask or be in 6 feet of each other or question the efficacy of these, for lack of a better term, vaccines. I mean, it's rude.
It is
How
polite
dare
to
you?
smile at people. It is polite to hug people, to shake their hands, to be friendly with them.
Not anymore.
Yeah, facial gestures are...
I disagree with them.
You must be on the alt-right with your conservative values of what is nice.
Speaking of, since we still have our tinfoil hats on, I found somebody turned me on to a documentary recently called House of Numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. Fauci rears his ugly head, and this is from way before any of this stuff started happening.
House of Numbers?
House of Numbers. I don't even know. I think I just want to bait that hook and let people go find it. I've only found it one place on the internet in full length. Wow. What an eye opener. I think it's from 2011 or something. Wow.
Can you describe it in any
It has
amount
to
of
do with
detail?
the HIV pandemic. And it turns out turns out that Tony Fauci was the core centerpiece controller of all of that. And it was like an $80 billion slush fund that he was working with. And he got ridiculously wealthy on the AIDS pandemic. So,
yeah, and people think that his primary role is as a doctor or as an epidemiologist. Nothing could be further
He's a
from the
mouthpiece.
truth. He is a primarily political animal.
Yep.
He has some medical credentials, but that is not what his skill set is.
if there ever was a puppet, that's a puppet.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, didn't the CDC recently come out and basically say that you didn't have to wear a mask anymore if you were vaccinated?
Oh yeah, that one's fun. So the director of the CDC, so she makes this decision at 9:00 p.m. signs off on it. Then at 9:15 or 25 goes on the news to say, no, the science isn't there yet. We've still got to be wearing masks and social distancing. Well, because she wasn't going to announce what she'd already signed off on until Thursday.
I'm very glad that these people no longer hold all the reins to our wealth.
Right.
Thank
That's an
God we
excellent point.
have cryptocurrency.
Oh, yeah.
These lying, conniving, violent suckers, man, I am glad to be free of that on some level. If you don't have any cryptocurrency, please get a little bit of cryptocurrency. It's like you get your gold, you got your silver, you got your ammo, your brass and your lead and your copper, and also spread that, diversify a little bit, get a little bit of cryptocurrency. I'm not telling you to go buy $10,000 worth of cryptocurrency. I'm definitely telling you to go buy, $50 worth of Bitcoin. Wouldn't kill you.
It can't hurt.
Couldn't hurt. Couldn't hurt. And
That's not financial advice.
So it couldn't hurt, and it might make you a billionaire.
Right.
That's our margin here. Your risk, $50. Your reward, well, I might become one of the most wealthy and powerful people on earth.
Correct.
I don't know if buying $50 worth of Bitcoin at this time could really have that effect. for
Oh, I
someone.
absolutely think it
Really?
would. Oh, yeah. So
This is still the very early days.
Mm-hmm.
You still
I'm
got
aware.
people like my mom saying, "What's the Doge thing?" I remember you telling me about Bitcoin 10 years ago. Should we have bought some? And I'm like, what? The answer is yes. It's still time. It's still time to get into cryptocurrency. These are still the really, really, really early days.
I definitely agree that the ship hasn't sailed, but $50 becoming $1 billion would require the value of
that's
Bitcoin.
probably, but they're
no. I will absolutely defend the idea that $50 transferred into Bitcoin today might very well be worth $1 billion, and moreover,
after hyperinflation.
Exactly my point. Exactly my point. And moreover, there may very well be a day where you no longer gauge it in US dollars.
Hopefully.
That's the goal here.
That's really what we're gunning for here.
We receive a lot of criticism for talking about the value of Bitcoin and USD, but what people have to understand is we're just dealing with units of measurement here, and
Right.
the USD
Yep.
is the unit of measurement we're most familiar with.
Yep. Most people understand it.
It's like criticizing someone for using inches or centimeters or feet or whatever. It's like that. That's the unit of measurement I understand, so that's how I currently relate everything to. Our goal is for Bitcoin to be that unit of measurement for people.
We can
this
measure
car-
Bitcoin in Satoshis.
Yes, this car is worth 2,000 Satoshis.
Great.
That's what we want to see.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts? 603-283-6160. Maybe you like having banks tell you what you can and can't do with your money, or having governments tell you what you can and can't do with your money. Maybe you're with us. Let us know. 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
The Terran Federation and the Terran League have been killing each other for decades. Sheltered, wealthy, and light years from the threat, the members of the 500 have no interest in changing that. When Rear Admiral Terrence Murphy is given governorship of a backwater system, a risk-free path to wealth and power is his for the taking. But Murphy is a man of honor, duty, and responsibility. He intends to stop the killing, whatever the cost. Governor, by David Weber and Richard Fox, from BaneBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. You can call in and talk about whatever you want. Strangely, few calls tonight. I mean, no calls tonight. I guess they're just enthralled by the conversation. I kind of am too, because we've been sitting here for almost half the show, and none of us have even thought about looking at show prep.
I know.
That, to be fair, I did think about looking at the article that talks about Binance being investigated, but it's because we were talking about it.
Right. I mean, there's always something useful to say about cryptocurrency. I mean, especially now with what's going on here in New Hampshire. I mean, for those who have somehow missed it, virtually half of the, well, it's not half, a fair number, too many, 3 of the Free Talk Live hosts are currently facing federal charges related to cryptocurrency. You can find out more about that at thecrypto6.com. But they're still holding Ian. Hopefully, I believe he has a hearing Thursday. Hopefully, they'll get all of the terms and conditions of his bail worked out, and he'll be free after that. I don't know how long it will take. I don't know how long it will take for him to go from, yes, set this man free to actually being free. I know with me, they made me wait there like an additional 5 hours. And of course, that's nothing compared to how long Ian has been in there.
Right.
So, but for him, they may make him wait 5 more days. You know, it's
weeks, months, years. They are slow and on purpose and deliberate, and they're dirty people.
They are. I mean, it was saddening to hear the magistrate say that he was going to, or she, I don't recall, get back with a quick decision. And then almost an entire week passed.
Yeah.
And then the decision was no.
Yeah, I'm wondering, and it was so promising too. And I'm thinking that there may be some outside. I wonder if there's anybody pressuring these judges. I wonder if the judges are catching threats over this. This is a big deal.
The magistrates are the judges, because the judges seem to be a lot fairer and a lot. I mean, the judge was the one who said, "I am prepared to order Ian Freeman's release."
Yeah.
So the judge seems to be reasonable, and that's shocking.
Wait, so now was that Stone that had said that?
John Stone? No, John Stone was the magistrate. I don't recall the actual judge's name.
All right.
But magistrates serve 10-year sentences or something like that, and they're trying to become judges, whereas judges are appointed and they serve for life or something. I'm not sure of the exact specifics. My attorney explained it to me, but it was all very complicated.
If you knew how it worked, it wouldn't be scary. If you knew how their system worked, they couldn't terrify you with the prospect of going into court and thus make you do everything that they want you to do.
Oh, I'm not scared of going into court. I've got a great attorney behind me. Let me rephrase that. I've got a great attorney in front of me. Because I think that's important right now. You know, there are times when, sure, if I had a traffic ticket, I would go be my own attorney, whatever. I don't care. It's a traffic ticket. What's the worst that can happen?
Right.
But that's not what this is. And the legal advice that I'm getting from a lot of libertarians is very frustrating, because because they're coming at this from that point of view, like, oh, I successfully beat this parking ticket, so you should try this sovereign citizen defense and stuff like that. And it's like, dude,
yeah, no,
I love you and I appreciate it, but I am not going into a federal court and asking them to present to me Mr. or Mrs. United States of America.
You know, that's one more reason to hate the government peoples, because a lot of times they seem to think that we're sovereign citizens, and that's like such a slap in the face.
But the sovereign citizens are right on this particular point. There is no United States government. That's just the God of their religion. Point me to your actual God. The judge in his robe standing up in their with their pews and the
definitely
everywhere.
A preacher and congregation kind of vibe there.
And then you have the prosecutors. One of the things I'm always correcting my attorney about is that he refers to the prosecutors as the government and refers to the court as the court. And I'm just constantly reminding him the court is the government.
Literally no difference at all.
Yeah, we can't lose sight of that, because that's critical to everything that I've ever said or done. The court is the state. The prosecutors are the state. They are on the same team here.
Yep.
Right.
And technically, because, you have to be registered with the New Hampshire Bar Association, you are on their team too.
Yep.
I mean, we're basically...
You mean your representative is on their team?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're all officers of the court.
We're basically Muslims being tried during the Crusades by a Christian tribunal.
Basically.
And how can they possibly give us a fair trial?
And
when the entire point of this trial, the entire argument here is that we committed heresy against their religion.
Mm-hmm.
And they are believers, by the way.
They are.
When I was handcuffed to that chair in this kitchen and they were interrogating, the look in their eyes was the same, like, glare that you would expect from somebody who was trying to convert you into their, but they weren't trying to convert. They saw me as a threat to their religion. Yep. You tried to burn our church is kind of like the look in their face, and the
well,
tenacity.
Metaphorically, sure, I want to burn their church down, but I want to do that by converting people from believers in their religion to believers in freedom and liberty and love.
And that's been done. I mean, the love is going to take some time, but the liberty is most important, and we can get there.
Well, and that's crucially important because there is this incredible connection between money systems and belief systems. I mean, for example, if you look at all the old coins, they would have one of two things on them. They would either have a deity or the emperor,
right,
which was considered a deity. So, I mean, this is their entire system is a religion, and you are refusing to offer abeyance to their religion.
Because I'm not a believer in their religion. I recognize it for what it is. It's a violent group of thugs who use this religious system in order to oppress people.
Yeah, I stand back at it just like any other religion, and I say, I can't believe anybody believes in this crap.
Yeah, and that's the revolutionary thing about cryptocurrency is that for the first time we have an opportunity to do anything else.
Yes, opt out
of
their financial system.
And unlike any technology that I can think of, by its nature, it empowers decentralization. Because I've spoken on this program many times about power is dangerous. It is like radiation. And if something is radioactive, like, you can't get rid of it. The only thing you can do is spread it as widely as possible. And every other system that we've ever had collects power into one place. And I can't think of another technology that decentralizes power in anything comparable to the way that cryptocurrency does. And the more decentralized the power gets, the more powerful cryptocurrency becomes. And that is, it's an incredible threat to their belief system.
Yeah, when we all started this, we knew like we liked it for that reason. What I didn't see coming is like how I would ever just come to just genuinely like it as a tool. Right. It's really handy and it's fast and it's simple and it's slick, and it's always there, but it's not there at the same time. I don't really need to worry about my phone getting stolen and having my wallet disappear forever. I can just, throw my keys at the account and there it goes. There's my crypto again. Yep. It's just returned up. Nobody could get their hands on it. It's secure.
Yeah.
It's just, there's so much good to say about it that you don't even have to start talking about how it's going to demolish the power structure and replace it with nothing.
Yeah.
But it does all of these things and so much more. I mean, it is the most useful tool we've ever had to actually secure freedom in our life.
For real.
Without a doubt.
603-283-6160 if you want to weigh in on the subject of cryptocurrency or the state religion.
Or anything else.
603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
On March 16th of this year, a joint government task force raided the New Hampshire Bitcoin Embassy, the mighty Moose Mart, the homes of Aria DiMezzo, Andy and Renee Spinella, Colleen Fordham, a grandmother, and perhaps most relevant, the studios of Free Talk Live. The Crypto Six were arrested, most were released, but Rich Paul, also known as Nobody, and Ian Freeman both remain in custody. We've been in contact with attorneys that say no crime even appears to have been committed, but that didn't stop the Joint Thug Task Force from ripping out wires from the back of our broadcast stacks, taking Free Talk Live off the air, violating our and your First Amendment rights. You can go to thecrypto6.com and donate to fight against these charges. But as importantly, contact media and tell them about this outrage. This case is likely to set precedent for the use of cryptocurrency well into the future. Help our fight for liberty and financial freedom at thecrypto6.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. You can call in and talk about whatever you want, or you can just carry on with the subject of cryptocurrency, blockchain, Bitcoin, Monero, all of the useful tools that we have to secure our freedom and to decentralize our lives. I mean, and it's not just in regard to finances that things can be decentralized. There's also library, which is currently probably not coincidentally being targeted by the SEC. That's the Security and Exchanges Commission. But it's a video sharing platform, very similar to YouTube. I think they even have a streaming service now.
So I tried to use Library and just kind of mixed effects. Couldn't get videos to load, that sort of thing back in the day. But I know Odyssey goes, that's ODYSEE.
That's their streaming version of library, right?
That's and I've gone to the Odyssey site. They don't have an app that, as far as I'm aware, but I've had no problems with it, and I know that they operate off of the back of library, and it's just great that you have this option where you can have all of your videos in a place that is never going to get taken down, is never going to get censored.
Well, it could technically be taken down. As I understand it, the way library works is it puts a pointer on the blockchain about where the video can be found, and after that, BitTorrent sort of supports the network where they download your video and then they become seeders of it, and other people download it from them and they become seeders of it. So you build this huge network. In theory, they could all delete your content and then it would be gone if you deleted yours as well. But that's not very likely, and it's not perfect, but it's better than having YouTube be able to say, oh, we don't like what you said here, so we're banning you. A week later, oh, we don't like that either. 2-week strike.
Have you spent a decade building up a fan base and a library of material, and it's gone?
That's why we're not streaming to the Free Talk Live YouTube channel right now. The channel currently has 2 strikes. We're using my YouTube account instead, because if Free Talk Live gets another ban, permanent deletion if they get another strike. And it's just not worth it to lose, 10 years of content when we can just write out the 2-month ban or whatever it is.
They can also go back and do like retroactive strikes as well. They might find something that they don't like from the past and call that evil.
Facebook is really big about doing that, to me especially.
Yes.
Like my most recent ban from Facebook was something I posted in like 2018. No context. I just think someone I frustrated went through to find something I posted that was offensive.
I wonder if that's what happens or if it's an actual algorithm thing. Do you think there's an actual person who gets angry? Like, who's going back to your Facebook for years? And if that was the case, then why wouldn't the FBI dirtballs who are crawling all over your life go back and look themselves and just report stuff? They went through the studio just yanking random cords out of the back of equipment. Why wouldn't they do that too?
I'm sure they have, and for years, for at least 4 years now, everything that I posted to Facebook has been public for exactly that reason. Other people are like, oh, I'm not adding you. You're probably an FBI agent. Well, it's not an issue to me if you're an FBI agent. My profile's public.
Right.
I've got nothing to hide from them. I'm not sitting here planning sedition or anything like that on Facebook. I don't know what other people are talking about on Facebook that they're worried about the FBI seeing. But if I'm worried about the FBI seeing something, I'm just not going to post it to Facebook.
And
you can't trust your friends, even those in the liberty community. You don't know who's a Fed.
Right. If you did, you'd have one fewer problem, that's for sure. And I mean, okay, you're not letting someone on because you think they might be an FBI agent. Do you think that the FBI will not be able to access this information if they want to?
Another fair point with these visa courts and all of these other, underhanded ways of them, or just outright hacking it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so that's 3 times that we've mentioned things where they don't follow their own rules. I mean, they've gotten in trouble for not following their rules on the visa courts. The court I have seen defy its own rules so many times, which, by the way, is why the whole sovereign citizen thing is kind of nonsense. Even if there was this, weird little workaround rule, they don't follow it. And YouTube certainly doesn't follow their rules about community guidelines. So, I mean,
they certainly don't, but we got caught up in the conversation again, and I almost forgot. We do actually have a caller. We got Bill calling from California. Bill, you're on Free Talk Live.
How you guys doing there?
Hey, what's on your mind tonight?
Okay, I want to bring up something about cryptocurrencies that kind of keeps me from wanting to get involved in them. I like the idea of cryptocurrencies. I think it's a tremendous, as far as decentralized worldwide currencies. There's only one problem with them, okay? They've been kind of co-opted by financial markets and used as speculative instruments, meaning that, let's just say, why would I want to buy a Bitcoin right now for about $43,000, not knowing whether or not it'll be worth $9,000 in a few months?
Well, that's why I say don't buy a $45,000 Bitcoin. Go ahead and get yourself $50 worth of Bitcoin.
Yeah, you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin.
You just buy a little bit.
Yeah, unlike...
Well, I'm aware of that, but I don't care. I mean, I'm not going to, even if I spent $10 on something, I don't want my $10 to be only, get back, $2 for it. Okay.
Well, let me ask you this. A year ago, or a year-ish ago, you could have bought $50 worth of Bitcoin, and it would now be worth about $350 to $400.
Right, and I could have chosen the correct lottery numbers last Saturday and been a millionaire.
No,
you don't know those things, okay?
No, you couldn't have.
Bitcoin has had a pretty clear trajectory since its foundation of heading upward in value.
Yeah,
it goes up and down, but
and I want to take you back. I want you to step in the Wayback Machine with me here and take you back to 1912, and you can buy $100 worth of dollars, and those dollars will be worth in today's money about 30 cents. So the U.S. currency that you depend on every single day is in absolute free fall and has been for 108 years.
And it's worse through the last year. 20% of the total U.S. money supply since the foundation of the United States was printed last year.
Yeah. So you want to talk about a degrading instrument? It's already in your pocket. It's time to take some of that. That's my argument. Take some of that, and I would personally want to be escaping that.
You're right. The USD is
I work
guaranteed.
hard for my money, and I want my buying power to remain.
The USD is guaranteed to lose value over the next 50 years. That's a given.
And
50 days.
And
probably.
if you look at everything the government does, they do more and more and more and more of it. If you look at the executive orders that the president passes, every president passes more executive orders than the one before them. The same is true of printing money for whatever they want to do. They always spend more than they used to spend. So they're going to keep spending more than they used to spend. And it's almost a necessity in order to get elected that you keep doing that. So you have something that not only are you certain beyond a shadow of a doubt will reduce in value, and will reduce in value more than the bonds you can get with it, but it will reduce in value at an accelerating rate.
Bill, thank you tonight for the call. Lots of interesting fodder in what you just said. That's by design. Laws don't expire, right? So every new law written just compounds the number of laws there is. You add that up over 200 years, and it's no wonder that we have a tax code that's 40,000 something pages and beyond the comprehension of any human being, but they somehow still magically enforce it and know what it says. Or just the fact that the average American commits, 5 felonies per day or something like that? Because laws don't expire, and they're constantly making new laws, new regulations, and they're not repealing old ones.
Yeah, and if you look at what Bitcoin has done, so it was worth about $600 for a really, really long time, and then it was worth about $4,000 at its trough after that. And now it's worth way more than that.
Yeah, significantly more than that. I don't know the exact numbers because I can't just watch them like I used to. I miss that about my day. 2 months and 2 days ago, every day I'd wake up and I'd look to see what Bitcoin was at just because I had a vested interest in it. And now I can't do that.
So I would rather risk being a millionaire than to hold on to something that I know will make me poorer.
Excellent point, and I can't disagree. Bitcoin could go up, it could go down, sure, but the USD will absolutely go down in value. 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
A local man treats his girlfriend to a sumptuous 20-second massage, and an area desk doesn't mind if people sit on it like a chair every once in a while. This is The Onion Week in Review. Following months of anticipation and global fanfare, the royal baby was finally born this week. Sources close to the royal family say the newborn prince spent his first days crawling around Buckingham Palace, eating his first meal, and even speaking his first words. The Onion has obtained this exclusive audio clip.
Idem grevare vestra. Have Antichristi.
In other news, a man's annual 6-sentence conversation with his cousin goes smoothly, a generous improv troupe performs for free, and a pool owner has a bathing suit that touched his penis you can borrow.
This is the Onion News Network.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Hey guys, Mark Claire here, lionsofliberty.com, where we strive to advance the ideas of liberty daily. We bring you the Morning Roar. That's right, every Monday to Friday we'll have a brand new edition of the Morning Roar, where we provide a roundup of some news stories that you may not find in the mainstream media or even in your typical social media newsfeed. We find stories that relate to the ideas of liberty and provide you with our liberty perspective on them. Every Monday, we have our longest-running feature, Mondays with Murray, named after the great libertarian Murray Rothbard, where we'll examine an article or an excerpt from his works and help convey his view, along with our little spin as well. We wrap it all up every Friday with Felony Friday, where our own John Odermatt goes out and takes a look at some sort of felony. There's felonies committed every day, you know, whether it's a felony committed by the police, a politician, or even an average citizen. You can find all of this and so much more over at lionsofliberty.com. Advancing the ideas of liberty daily.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. You can call in, take control of the airwaves, talk about whatever is on your mind, because that's what we do here on Free Talk Live. We empower you to share your opinions across some 200-ish radio stations across the United States, plus online broadcast over satellite to sub-Saharan Africa and parts of Asia. If you value all of that, you might consider joining the AMP program. You can find out more about it at amp.freetalklive.com. Brian Brantley has joined the AMP program because he values that concept. He values the ideas of liberty reaching parts of the world where they otherwise aren't heard, including here in the United States, where these ideas just don't seem to be gaining much traction, despite how common sense they are and how good they sound. Because libertarians are terrible salespeople in general. But Brian, thank you so much for your contributions. It only takes $5 per month to join the AMP program. You get a number of cool little features like an AMP-only Facebook group, an AMP-only call-in line, and an AMP-only room on the Matrix server that someone put together that the LRN server itself isn't even on anymore because I'm not legally allowed to put it back on there, and I'm the only one other than Ian who would even know how to do that. But hey, if you want to talk to listeners of the show and not the people, I think some of the show hosts are still on. You can find it at matrix.freetalklive.com. But more importantly, we hope you like the show. Check it out, amp.freetalklive.com. $5 per month is all we ask. You might consider joining. Anyway, let's go to the phones. We got Andrew calling from Tennessee. He wants to talk about peakless mountaineers principles. That's why I almost said that. Andrew, you're on Free Talk Live.
Well, thanks for taking my call. I'm a lifetime liberty lover. Never swayed from it, and I feel sorry for the people that have to stray their, I guess, principles and morals just to fit in with people.
I've seen a lot of that, especially over the last year, in response to the pandemic. The libertarians who lean left, I don't think they even qualify as libertarians anymore. They're like, clearly liberty won't ever work.
A lot of them have gotten swept up in what we were talking earlier about with the wokeism and the whole mask mandate and everything.
I literally saw a year ago how people literally went from one week to another, and it happened end of February, early March, maybe late March, but people just changed, and all of a sudden, all the people that you were on the fence about, you're like, well, that's why I didn't really like you in the first place. 'Cause now I can see you. And I like Peakless. I think he's got a good idea of principles. I don't know where he stands on things, but I appreciate his logic and I guess. Well, I don't know. I like your logical approach to principles.
Did you have a question for him, or just the compliment?
I guess maybe the question would be, where do you clarify your principles, or how do you come up with, logic and principles colliding and being coinciding, I guess.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. I get.
Yeah, no. That's a really good question.
I'm finding my word. Sorry.
Well, no, that's a really good question. Is what is the intersection of logic and principles? Because there are lots of people who are really solid on whichever set of principles they are, but aren't really great on logic. And there's lots of people that don't really have a set of principles, or at least don't know what their principles are, but they're really, really set on the logic. So a big part of it for me is, so principles, they tend to be centered around a sense of morality. And to me, morality is what works over the long term. Because figuring out what works over the short term is very, very easy for people to do. Like, I want candy bar, I take candy bar. Very simple to figure out, okay, well, if I hadn't taken the candy bar, I wouldn't have the candy bar now. Okay, short term, very easy to figure out. But you find out that, okay, over the long term, well, if everyone just takes the things that they want, and we don't have this idea of no, that's your candy bar, I have to buy it from you or get you to give it to me. If we don't do that over the long term, then we end up so much poorer. So while we haven't really had a chance before recently to really sit down and think and figure this out, because we were struggling to survive for the vast majority of human existence, now we actually have kind of a moment to sit down and go, okay, here are some guidelines that have allowed cultures to exist throughout time. Pretty much everyone has a thing about no murder, and no rape, no theft, and no arson. Why are these the things that allow cultures to continue to exist?
Well, because a culture that allows those things is self-destructive.
Right. And I think that that's really the important thing, is to realize what these moral systems that were set out by just sort of visionaries at some point and were followed by cultures, what they are approximating is behaviors that are useful over a long period of time, in contrast to behaviors that are useful over a medium or a short period of time. So then you can go, all right.
That's the issue with the world today, is that humans are increasingly short-sighted. They want it now. They don't care what the long-term consequences could be, such as the COVID-19 vaccine. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's going to have negative consequences in the long term. I'm just saying we don't know. We see candy bar, we want candy bar, we take candy bar. Damn the consequences. And that's reckless. We did the same thing with putting hormones into food, with putting antibiotics into food, and to having doctors overprescribe antibiotics, into having carcinogens being pumped into the atmosphere of our vehicles every single day. We undertook all of these things because monkey see, monkey want, monkey get.
Well, but that isn't what happened at all. I mean, like, if you look at, okay, so my favorite example is eBay. So the first iteration of eBay, you didn't have a rating system. You had nothing you could do if someone screws you over on a purchase by sending a bad check, or if someone screws you over on a sale by sending you junk when it wasn't what they advertised. There was nothing you could do. So, you know, obviously they thought, well, this isn't going to work. So a bunch of people went, aha, I will move in and I will offer this service. You send me the check, I'll make sure it doesn't bounce. You send me the stuff, I'll make sure that it's not crap. And then I'll send them off to each of you for a fraction of whatever the sale is. And they went out of business completely.
That's essentially what eBay did.
Well,
but eBay didn't go out of business. They were the company that said,
no,
hey,
no. There were people that offered their services for verification.
Service.
Yes, an escrow service to verify the check and the stuff.
What was that called? Now that you're talking about that, I remember that. Yeah, it's gone now, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it didn't last long at all because the standard transaction was honest. And
there's a feedback system.
Yeah, and you wouldn't think that. You wouldn't expect that from people because you live, I don't know where, somewhere across the country. I will never interact with you. Why should I send you actual goods or actual money? But it was just ingrained into our perspective of reality and in our culture that that's just not what you do. I mean,
I agree entirely. People are generally honest.
Mm-hmm.
People are generally nice, generally pleasant to be around.
Yeah, bad people are kind of an outlier, and they all work for the government.
Or they want to,
well, the smart
or they
ones
want to control what the government does to us.
Correct.
Yeah, all of the smart evil people work for the government. But that's the thing. The reason that this showed up is because we had this culture that was based on these moral precepts. And my favorite one being the idea, and it, as far as I can tell, it's exclusive to Buddhism and Christianity. And it's, we have the same rule set for whether you're in my tribe or out of my tribe. There is no difference in the set of rules that I treat you with, no matter what. And that is a powerful idea. And that's what enabled us to have this kind of trade. And I mean, it's beautiful because now we actually figured out how to hard code that into a set of software, which is what cryptocurrency allows, is there's trust of people you don't trust. So it really reinforces this idea that you treat people by the same set of rules.
I think you may have misinterpreted my monkey see, monkey want, monkey take thing. That was more about humanity as a whole and not trying to allege that most people are thieves or anything like that. But monkey see a vaccine, monkey want the vaccine, monkey take the vaccine without any regard to the long-term consequences of it.
Yeah, we live in an Amazon Prime reality where everything is on our doorstep within 2 days, and we want it on our doorstep in 2 days.
Or
and
less.
If we see, some Yahoo on the TV box says get the jab, we're like, I want the jab.
Well, and that's why we needed systems of morals to
Why can't my
sidestep
infant have it now?
that.
What are your thoughts? Maybe you think we're way off base here. Maybe you think that, rather than getting our morals from what is good in the long term, we should be getting them from a religion. 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live.
The LRN.FM's social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
A major energy pipeline shut down by a cyber attack. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. Colonial Pipeline says it was targeted by a ransomware attack that forced it to temporarily shut down a pipeline that stretches from the Gulf of Mexico to New York. The company did not say what was demanded or by whom. Tennessee Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn is calling for improvements to the nation's energy infrastructure.
We have had a Department of Energy cybersecurity project at Oak Ridge Labs, and I've been pushing to bring all of our national labs into a consortium to work on this, because securing our nation's critical infrastructure is going to be an imperative because of these bad actors that are out there.
Energy analysts say the impact on fuel supplies and prices depends on how long the pipeline is shut down. Deportations have reached an all-time low as a record surge of new migrants and asylum seekers continues at the southern border. Fox's Bill Malusian in Del Rio, Texas.
Border Patrol reporting that just here in Del Rio in the past week alone, they've been averaging 740 apprehensions every single day. The local sheriff here telling us he's never seen it worse and that human smugglers have been taking advantage. A semi-truck that got pulled over by local police after folks out there reported seeing people in the back of the truck. Police pull it over and there were dozens of migrants in the back of that semi.
Customs officials report 162,000 migrants were detained in April, but about 30,000 got away. 3 people were dead, including a suspect, and 2 others are injured after a shooting and fire in Maryland. Baltimore County Police say officers found an armed man outside a burning home in Woodlawn and shot him. The fire damaged 2 other homes. America is listening to Fox News.
Finally, get curcumin and CoQ10 together. Stop Aging Now brings you CoQ10 Ultra to fight inflammation and energize your body. Get a 30-day supply for 40% off plus free shipping with promo code FOX. Power and protect your cells for a strong heart, sharp brain, pain-free joints, and more. Nancy from West Virginia raves, CoQ10 Ultra helps me stay mentally and physically fit. Only from Stop Aging Now. Get 40% off plus free shipping right now. Go to stopagingnow.com and use code FOX.
The Equality Act is stalling out in the U.S. Senate. Democrats had hoped they could pass the legislation creating new protections for LGBTQ Americans this year, but Republicans warn it would open the floodgates for transgender athletes to play on female sports teams. A large piece of a Chinese rocket from a launch last month is expected to fall back to Earth this weekend. Fox's Jill Nato reports.
A 23-ton rocket core careening out of orbit and headed for Earth. We don't know where it's going to hit, but researchers think they have an idea as to when. The Center for Orbital Reentry and Debris Study says it'll be around 0419 Greenwich Mean Time. That's 12:19 a.m. Eastern Time Sunday, give or take 8 hours. Because the Earth is mostly covered with water, chances are it'll hit an ocean. And some scientists believe as much as 40% of it will get burned up in the atmosphere. But if it hits land, whatever's left of it is bound to leave a mark. Jill Nato, Fox News.
At least 30 people were dead after a bomb exploded near a girls' school west of Kabul. The Taliban condemned the attack, and there's been no claim of responsibility. A well-known billionaire hosting tonight's Saturday Night Live show on NBC.
Tesla and SpaceX billionaire Elon Musk will take the stage this evening to try his hand at hosting the iconic show, which also features Miley Cyrus as musical guest. The announcement of Musk as Saturday Night Live host has drawn criticism on social media.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
I'm Brooke Alvarez, and while I may not acknowledge your presence in person, and if you try to approach me, you'll most certainly be hit in the face with the stinging nettles I carry on me at all times, I like to take a moment every now and again to answer your questions so that you can get to know the real me. Here's a tweet from @Kirkamunga saying, what is the most important thing to remember when talking to people who may not be as informed as you? I love this question, Kirkamunga. There are 3 simple steps to dealing with uninformed people. First, when you realize that someone doesn't know something, repeat very loudly in their face the thing they don't know. For example, you don't know who the Prime Minister of Zimbabwe is? Second, look to everyone around you and let them know that this person is completely ignorant. Hey everyone, Sebastian doesn't know who the Prime Minister of Zimbabwe is. Third, you call up the Prime Minister of Zimbabwe and tell him that Sebastian doesn't know who he is, and then laugh really loudly until the ignorant person just leaves in utter shame. If you'd like to ask me a question, just tweet it to my handle @BrookeAlvarez or post it to my Facebook wall.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. You can join the conversation. That's 603-283-6160. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria,
Matt,
and Peakless Mountaineer.
And we've been sort of all over the place with discussions tonight, but all centering around one central concept, and that is cryptocurrency and liberation from the financial system that, you know, is seeking to destroy our lives and our value.
Yeah, we went ham on crypto tonight.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing, man.
No, it's a
People
good
are like,
thing.
hey, you guys are always talking
it
about
is.
basketball. Here's a different subject.
High five.
Right. Now, I did want to, I wanted to push back on your little cliffhanger there. So you were saying, like, well, should we be according to logic, or should we be getting our moral system from a religion?
Well, I didn't say logic.
What'd you say?
I don't remember exactly but there's nothing logical about morality.
Oh, I disagree completely. And I think that's probably what our last caller was trying to
I
sort of
think
push us toward.
morality is just one topic that we can try to apply logic to.
Well, morality is a luxury. It's important to give it. When you're starving to death, the idea that stealing is wrong, that's a luxury you don't have.
Right.
So we have to operate from that perspective, that morality is a luxury. And it's only logical insofar as you are afforded that luxury.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're not afforded that luxury, when you have to steal or you have to kill.
Mm-hmm. Well, and see, that's the difference between like a moral system and just a person's sort of naturally looking at things. So a person just
So you're talking about like a code of ethics versus a person's internal morality.
Not exactly. So like if I'm going to die, it is very easy for me to figure out some way to not die. So if I have to work on a short-term basis, it's not that difficult for a person to figure out something for a short-term basis. But, okay, what happens after that? Okay, my belly's full, I've got a roof over my head, now what? And that's where these systems of morality are useful as
yes, once you
functions.
have the luxury of not having to, fight for your life.
Right.
But when you're standing in front of the train and you either have to move out of the way and let your friend die, or you have to stand there while your friend moves out of the way, it's not immoral to move out of the way and let your friend die.
Probably the best thing to do is to shove them that way and you go the other.
Well, generally, that was a bad example. It's hard to come up with these sorts of examples when you have to speak and think at the same time.
And even that is not quite always true, because in a lot of cases, it's actually useful for some members of the community to put their life on the line. So, for example, why did all of these monks get away with not reproducing for so long? Now, I don't think that is the best system at all, but they sure did get away with it.
What do you mean get away with it?
Their culture continued to survive in part because of what they were doing.
Well, they were recruiting from the outside.
Well, they're recruiting from the outside, and
if they weren't doing that, they would have died off, and that would have been the end of it. I mean, there is actually a sect, I think, here in New Hampshire, people who don't have sex, and they're on like the last generation.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
There was a sect of Quakers, the Shakers, I think they were, and that was one of their things. Is like, no, it is sullying yourself to engage in a physical congress with someone. Therefore, you should never reproduce. And they're whittling down to just they're about to go extinct because
which was
of that
inevitable,
policy.
right?
Hard pass. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But my point is that having some people whose job was to maintain a community instead of reproduce was a long-term benefit to that community and even to their genes.
But it's only a benefit if they can pull in people from the outside who can perpetuate their way of life.
Right. That's actually a really big part of moral systems, is they're not systems that are terribly useful on you alone on a desert island. They're just not terribly useful for them.
Well, if you're alone on a desert island, then there's no such thing as moral or immoral. These are judgments of how we behave with others.
Exactly. They're how you behave with others. So if you take them out of the framework of being a social creature, then yeah, morality doesn't really work. But the fact is, humans don't work that way. It is almost impossible to survive on your own. And not only do we need each other, but we choose to be around each other.
And that's why this pandemic has affected people and caused so much trauma and depression and anxiety and suicides. It's because humans are social creatures.
Yes, we are. And that's part of my point with there is actually a logic to even religious moral systems. It's not perfect, I'll grant you, but there are a lot of principles that are extremely difficult to get to on your own through sheer logic, that if you just have them written down, then your tribe can work by them, and they do work over a long period of time.
Well, yeah, but that's no different than having a system of law in place like the Code of Hammurabi or whatever.
They are nearly identical.
The statement that I was trying to make, and I worded it badly because I should have said, from a deity, but the argument that so many religious people make is that we don't get our morality from any of this stuff. We get it from God.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just rank authoritarianism, where their God can say or do anything he wants, and it's not immoral because their authority figure was the one who did it. We have the same thing with the state, where the state gives us these laws. It tells us what we can and can't do, and then it roundly violates those laws, and everyone's like, but it's okay. They're the government.
Well,
they're above the law, just like God is above. The gods of religions are above their laws.
And that's
the God of the
exactly
Bible killed 50,000 people on a random page that I flipped to in the Bible, and no one's like, oh my God, that's immoral. But it was.
And that's exactly how you can tell when something has become corrupt, is when they are not standing by the rules that they laid down. Then yeah, absolutely, you should stop listening to them.
And that's why I'm a Satanist, because standing up to arbitrary authority that tells you to obey when it doesn't obey its own rules, I refuse to bow. And that's the principal sin that Lucifer committed. God told him to bow, and he said, why? And God said, because I said so. He said, that's not a good enough reason.
And I agree that that's not a good enough reason. However,
Actually, God said, because I said so, and if you don't, then I'm going to, torture you and kill you and all of that. And he said, well, screw that then.
I'd rather live anywhere free in the Bible.
No, that's actually from Paradise Lost, but it's been co-opted into Christianity, so it's Christian canon at this point.
Yeah, it's a really weird thing that third of angels and all of that.
Nothing in the Bible suggests any of that.
Yeah. All of that got taken out of the Bible like 1,000 years ago.
Well, it was never in there. It got added in there by Milton's Paradise Lost, and now people believe that it's canon, and it might as well be. But just like the tribulation and the rapture, there's nothing about that in the Bible. The whole point of the tribulation is that Christians are supposed to suffer great tribulation, but then they created this loophole. Oh, it's okay. We're not going to actually suffer. God's going to take us away first. No, the whole point of the book is that it's going to suck for you.
Well, the tribulation and the rapture are talked about in Revelations.
Well,
However,
there's a
interpreting
mention
Revelations
in Job, and
is extremely difficult.
There's a mention in Job, and not Job, Daniel, and I think the book of Mark.
But the bit about the Luciferian rebellion, that actually was in books of the Bible that are still held in Ethiopia. If you check out an Ethiopian Bible, they've still got all of what's called the Apocrypha. They've still got it in there. So They will actually, their Bible actually tells you about, yes, Lucifer was this highest of the angels and most beautiful, and
the first thing created. God, the voice said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Lucifer is light,
the bringer of light,
the bringer of light.
So
Prometheus, essentially. Just like in Greek mythology, Lucifer brought light, Prometheus brought fire.
Well, and
interesting. I've never interpreted the statement of God saying, "Let there be light," as
and there was light.
The
and that's why
creation of
Lucifer is also the Judeo-Christian demigod of wisdom, because it's the oldest. He's the first.
That's fascinating.
Which is where the pride. It's where the pride comes from.
I have never made that connection.
And
I'm
it's
going to
interesting
think
because
about that tonight.
I can talk to you about all that stuff. I have
in Genesis,
volumes in my head.
It specifically says the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil was good for wisdom. The serpent was right.
The fruit that
he told the truth.
The fruit that God forbade them from eating and
Well,
lied to them about.
No.
Said you will die.
Oh, no.
And when they didn't even know the difference between right and wrong, he expected them to make a judgment call about what was right and wrong. Let me finish this statement.
All right.
Because he did. He said, "Thou shalt not eat of the fruit."
And Adam and Eve were
or
like,
you
"I
will
haven't
surely
even put on pants yet," and you're telling me to do all this stuff, and I haven't even put on pants today.
He didn't tell them. He told Adam.
That's right.
And Adam said, "Well,
that's right."
And Adam said, "Well, this gift that you gave me told me to do it. So what was I supposed to do?"
Without knowing the difference between right and wrong in the first place.
Which
good point.
speaks to a fallible
God. He didn't tell them. He told him. 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live.
It's just aliens anyway.
A newly recruited search and rescue officer, Marshall Hunter was resigned to a life of rescuing wayward spacefarers and derelict satellites. But when a billionaire couple goes missing, his own ship is disabled during the rescue. With communication satellites suddenly failing and lunar mineral shipments disappearing in transit, the crew suspects it's more than a coincidence, and Hunter must choose between salvation and sacrifice to save his crewmates and their civilian charges. Frontier by Patrick Childs and BingBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. And somehow we managed to get our way into religion while still talking, in my opinion, about authority, decentralization, the power of the individuals, because ultimately the Christian mythology is one of an arbitrary centralized authority laying out dictates and the story of someone who basically said no. Now, you and I have differing opinions on this. I would argue that Lucifer had to have free will in order to choose to disobey God.
Well, so here's one big difference between your perspective and mine.
We probably covered a lot of this during the break that we didn't actually just recap on, and I have no desire to recap on what we covered during the break, so try to stay up with the conversation that you weren't here for 4 minutes ago.
I have never really thought that God was all-powerful.
Well, it's an oxymoron.
You can't have an all-powerful good guy. You can have good, or you can have all-powerful. So when God says a thing, it's assumed that he's commanding this to be, and I don't think a lot of times it is. So like when he commands Eve, now you will have great labor in order to bring forth children, that's not a command. That's a description.
Well, I think
you're going to love men. Well, in general, that is what happens when he says, "Snake, you will be on your belly and eat the dust of the."
I think we have to scratch omnipotence from the conversation entirely, though, because it's a logical fallacy. You can't be. Can Jesus microwave a burrito so hot that he himself could not eat it? Right. That's my go-to to talk about omnipotence. It's absurd. It is a logical fallacy. Such a thing cannot exist.
If he gave the burrito
he could be very
free will,
powerful. But he can't be all-powerful.
If it was a free will burrito, then it could choose either to cook or not. And that is how you make a rock that is too big you can't push it. And still be all-powerful.
I think what you just did was a non sequitur, and I reject it as an argument.
Well, you were asking...
I don't think that Jesus can give the burrito free will and then still somehow have to determine its own temperature and yet still have the omnipotence to make a burrito so hot that he himself cannot eat it. The oxymoron there cannot be overcome. Either he is powerful enough to eat it, or he is powerful enough to make it too hot for himself to eat.
I'm about to make another Aqua Teen Hunger Force reference here in about 2 seconds if you guys keep this up. It has something to do with a sandwich from hell called the Brood Witch.
Hey, man, they're making a new movie. I'm okay with it.
I heard. So sad.
You've got to eat the sun-dried tomatoes.
Yeah.
So without omnipotence, we're just talking about a God that is very powerful. And I think that's a much more manageable subject.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing I look at it is every step in the Genesis story is the creation of a world where life can happen. It's not the creation of everything that is. Because, okay, where did the deep come from? There's no point where God said, let there be the deep. No, there just was one. And he floated on the face of the waters. Where did the waters come from? God didn't say, let there be waters. That
weren't
never
the
friggin'
waters
happened.
first then?
Ain't that curious? So you have these waters, you have this deep, and God didn't command it into existence. It just was there. Now, what he did was float on the face of it. So he kind of got a handle on it, said, okay, the water will go this far and no further. Okay, now there's a surface, which is basically what you have to do for life is you have to put down lines between things and say, okay, well, in order to stand on land, the sea has to go this far and no further. And how far this far is kind of an impossible problem of fractals, but there still is one. There's still a point where, okay, the land starts here because the sea stops. And
sure, but it wasn't necessary for there to be land, for there to be life. I mean, life evolved in the oceans. It began in the oceans.
Sure.
It just ended up coming onto land.
Sure, but there had to be a place where it stopped in order for there to be us.
I mean, dolphins didn't require it. And they're
Dolphins
probably
didn't
the next
require it, and they have no civilization.
That
I know
of.
I know a lot of people who would argue they do have some form of civilization.
Well,
have you never read the Illuminatus
certainly-
trilogy by Robert Anton Wilson?
I haven't actually.
Oh, you're missing out. He's a good
I
libertarian
really do
too.
need to.
They certainly have languages and the ability to communicate,
yeah,
and they
definitely.
show very high levels of reasoning. They have social
yeah.
structures. They have
Mhm.
hierarchies. I don't know which
No
part
tech,
of that's
though.
your...
And they are devoted warriors.
No tech, though.
No technology.
No
That's
technology.
correct.
And I think that's a really important part of humans. I mean, talking is super important, sure, but like fire can only happen on land. No
Sure.
land, no fire. No fire, none of this stuff. No microphone I'm talking into, no cryptocurrency to gush about.
Yeah, no electricity, obviously, because you're underwater. Everything's going to be fried. I get you.
Mhm.
You have to be on land to have a certain level of technological development.
Right. And that technological development has allowed us greater forms of creation than we ever would have had without it.
Absolutely.
Right. So if you're going to further life and further life's ability to
Or,
create,
I mean, we're
then you
kind
have
of
to draw a line.
We're kind of assuming that too, because I mean, we're kind of committing the anthropic principle here of the, hey, we're here, we have land, we have electricity, we have fire, so we couldn't have these microphones and all of these other things without those. But in fact, if we did evolve underwater, maybe we are creative enough that we could have come up with a way to have underwater microphones and stuff like that. We just don't know.
Maybe
we work with what we got, and if we lived under the ocean, we would work with what we had.
But certainly,
I'm not saying electricity would be possible or that fire would be possible, but there may be other ways of solving the problems of getting a message across a large distance than just electricity.
Could be. Maybe.
How
I
does
doubt
the
it.
intercom work at the fast food place in SpongeBob SquarePants?
I don't know. I've seen maybe.
How do you order a Krabby Patty at the drive-thru in SpongeBob SquarePants world?
So
There's got to be electricity down there.
They have
or something.
swimming pools.
Oh.
Think about that.
That's that's true.
Well, Bender in Futurama smoked a cigar under the ocean.
It's true.
That's true.
I mean, we're talking about cartoons there.
Yeah.
But
Are you suggesting that cartoons don't follow our system of physics?
Maybe that's why we love cartoons.
Well, and actually, that's an important point. So, yeah, stories don't have to follow the same rules as the real world because then they
it comes
wouldn't be
full
so much
circle.
fun.
We're going back to the Bible.
That's right.
well, stories are certainly useful, right?
Oh, yeah.
This is why I don't believe in any actual being such as Satan or Lucifer or Yahweh or anything like. Just like I don't believe in such a being as Harry Potter. But the things I learned from reading those stories were still useful to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe Harry Potter, what I learned from there, was useful enough to call myself a Harry Potterist or whatever. But the stuff I learned from the Bible and the symbol of Satan as a resistance to arbitrary authority certainly is.
Well, and there's definitely people that that do love Harry Potter enough to be Harry Potterists. And I mean, man, that lady got the archetypes down. Like, seriously, there's this institution made of stone, but deep underneath the institution made of stone, there is a predator that if it sees you, you freeze, turn to stone. Like, man, those archetypes are solid. And Harry Potter himself, okay, so he is touched by evil, but does not succumb to it. I mean, that's the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil right there. And by being touched by evil, he has these powers that he wouldn't otherwise.
It all comes back to the hero with 1,000 faces. All of these,
Absolutely.
it's all the same story told in different ways. 603-283-6160. You're welcome to weigh in with your thoughts. That's 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
When you're coping with bad news and the news media come calling, and they will, don't clam up. As notorious political figures find out the hard way, the cover-up can be worse than the crime. So get out in front of unfavorable news about your company, your group, or organization, or yourself. The sooner you confront a negative story, the sooner it will be over. Responding as quickly to negative stories as you do to positive ones enhances your credibility. Hiding embarrassing information or lying will do more damage than damage control. Never stonewall. Tell your side of the story, use specifics, and detail what corrective action has already been taken. Respond in kind. If the issue is emotional, don't sound like a cold, unemotional Mr. Spock. For more tips on critical communication skills for the way things are now, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. If you want to join the conversations, you're more than welcome to 603-283-6160. We just left off with a mention of Harry Potter, which is something I was thinking about during the break, and I want to sort of circle back around into all this because all of this conversation has been wonderfully tied together in strange and unexpected ways. You have in Harry Potter all of these archetypes that you were talking about, but you have one that is the most horrifying villain put to ink in the Harry Potter series that everyone recognizes as a villain, but doesn't consider herself to be one. And that's Dolores Umbridge of the 5th book's Order of the Phoenix. She's an absolute monster. She commits horrific acts of evil, but she does so believing herself to be doing the right thing, to be acting on behalf of the greater good. For the greater good, she calls Harry Potter to carve "I must not tell lies" into his hands. For the greater good, they issued all of these edicts oppressing the students. She was the ultimate evil bureaucrat. She was the ultimate FBI agent. Voldemort, snakehead dude, he's motivated entirely by power. He just wants power over others. And there are certainly some people like that. But the vast majority of people who seek power over others are like Dolores Umbridge. They believe themselves to be doing the right thing for the right reasons. And even if they have to do the wrong thing here and there, it's okay because it's for, quote, the greater good. Dolores Umbridge is the most terrifying villain in the series.
Well, and the one who seeks only power ends up being served by her. Like, Voldemort's plans are very well served by her putting the authoritarian lockdown on the School of Magic now, aren't they?
Yes, and then it goes on to become the Ministry of Magic, where she stays despite the Death Eaters and, you know, all of the bad guys becoming the ones in charge. She's still there. In fact, I think she's in higher authorities than she was previously.
And a lot of the people who claim government over us, either in government directly or just manipulating it, a lot of them really do believe that everything they're doing is for the greater good. Like if you talk to like the people who want to thin the herd, oh, it's only for the best of reasons. They're just concerned that there's so many people on the planet that the planet won't survive. So, you know, I mean, we just need a little bit of eugenesis. You know, just like cut their fertility rate.
But even if we're not talking about those, even if we're just talking about people who think that, oh, well, we need to have this war or that war, or we need to have this level of stealing from people.
We've got to fight them over there. They'll fight us over here.
Yeah, or we need to have this regulation in place so that this bad thing doesn't happen. And, oh, I'm sorry, you're just trying to, you know, be a successful person there in New Hampshire. Now you've got to face a 10-year prison sentence because otherwise someone might do the wrong thing. So you have to suffer. But it's for the greater good.
If the government doesn't regulate business, then these corporations will just run roughshod over all the workers.
Even though the government is in bed with the corporations.
Right.
To the extent that they're indistinguishable.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, unless you have a massive blind spot, which most people, and not all to their own fault, have a blind spot on either the government or the corporations. The people on the right have a massive blind spot over the evil that corporations do. And the people on the left have a massive blind spot over the evil that the government does. And I mean...
it's like only libertarians and anarchists are like seeing things as they actually are, saying there is two sides of the same coin here, people.
Right.
Corporations are in bed with government. Government is in bed with corporations.
Oh, libertarians, don't you mean racists who hate gay people?
Don't forget domestic terrorists.
Domestic terrorists.
I don't know any libertarians who hate gay people.
Me either.
I can't think of one offhand.
And I can't think of any that are racists either.
No. The only people...
they're probably out there. We just don't know them because we don't hang out with them.
Because we don't hang out.
Balls.
Right.
Freedom of association is also a thing.
We do have a pretty profound selection bias there. But yeah, I mean, okay, so economic power, when it gets concentrated, always leads to greater political power where it gets concentrated. And greater political power always leads to concentrating economic power.
And it's a cycle it's a feedback loop.
And that's part of why cryptocurrency is such a massive breakthrough, because for the first time we have a powerful technology to decentralize power.
It's literally melting the walls off the castle as we speak.
Yep, because if you get rid of economics, everyone starves. So you have to have an economic system.
Right, because it's not feasible. I know I'm not going to spend my days out there planting a farm and raising chickens and all of that. I don't have to because I can do something else.
But if you centralize it, it's super dangerous. And whereas
as we learned with the toilet paper shortage of 2020, everybody buys their toilet paper from Walmart. What happens when everybody wants toilet paper, I should say, at the same time? You don't have any. Decentralize it. Have it in more stores or in more distributors or whatever. And that's just toilet paper, right?
Exactly.
You can survive without that. We're talking about bigger things here like money.
Yeah.
Who controls the money? One entity.
Yeah. So when it comes to economics, you have to spread the power as thinly as possible or things won't work. Whereas when it comes to politics, just get rid of it. Just eliminate political power completely.
I agree with that. But when you say spread the power evenly in the economic system,
I'm not saying evenly. I'm not saying evenly.
You said as evenly as possible.
As widely as possible, yeah. Like spread it out as far as you possibly can.
But don't prohibit it from reconcentrating to an extent, I would say.
Well, right.
But see, this is where I come into an argument with other libertarians about people like Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, where I'm like, yeah, they're a dragon. I'm totally fine. When I say rob the rich, I'm talking about people like Jeff Bezos, who wouldn't have become billionaires if it wasn't for the state. I don't think it's possible for a single person or entity to amass that percentage of the wealth without the backing of the state.
Oh, without a
Well,
doubt.
he did. I mean,
let alone keep it.
All kinds of dignitaries and things going to bat with China and stuff for that type of business to get off the ground and have a free flow of product coming from. Everything on Amazon's from China, basically.
Yeah.
So I mean, if it wasn't for all kinds of ambassadorship going on behind the scenes, and there's plenty of bureaucrats going to work for Amazon.
When I say eat the rich, I don't mean the millionaires. I don't mean the tens of millionaires. I mean the Bill Gateses, the billionaires, the ones who could not have earned that level of wealth without the state.
And could not keep it without the state.
No, because people would go and eat them and take their stuff. Rightly, because it's immoral, as I see it, for one person to, hold 10% of the nation's value, wealth, however you wish to phrase it. And I don't know what their percentage of the wealth actually is, but it's too high.
I don't know.
Without
I
the
think
goon
that
squad, they
argument
couldn't
would
keep
fail.
it either. Sorry, go ahead.
I think calling that immoral would fail a logical. Wouldn't be able to withstand logic.
You're right. I don't think there's any way for them to amass that level of wealth without being immoral in the process.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
That's what I meant.
It indicates immorality rather than being immoral itself. And that's the thing, because the way of effectively spreading wealth is by letting everyone trade, because every time two people trade freely, both of them are wealthier.
Truth.
Yep.
And if you just let people get themselves wealthier and wealthier and wealthier, then okay, sure, let's say by some miracle you end up with 10% of the money. Okay, not for long, because you have everyone around you making themselves wealthier and wealthier. And what are you going to do? Not trade with them? That's not going to help. Trade with them? Okay, then you're just going to help them get wealthier.
That's a good point. Selling someone something for $5 makes us both wealthier. They have this thing they want. I have the $5 that I want. Both of us have a little bit more of whatever it is that we desire. And that, by my definition, is wealth. Having what you want. What else would wealth be if it's not that?
And it also furthers the wealth creation. Because if I buy a $5 sandwich from you, okay, now I have some energy to go write poetry or whatever it is that I'm doing.
And I have motivation to go make another sandwich to sell.
Exactly.
Because I want that $5 or whatever.
And you can buy some materials.
Yeah. 603-283-6160. You can weigh in, but I just don't see any arguments for, the state control of economics that we have today. I mean, the arguments that we're making here about free trade are just so obvious. I can't imagine.
Most of the state arguments are actually effectively applied to charities. More on that when we come back.
Yeah, 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live.
I mean, what I'm saying is that if you do something that could cause harm, you should be prosecuted for it.
Private Manning was prosecuted for it. Private Manning was in jail for 7 years. Private Manning was given a 35-year sentence, which is by far and away the largest sentence ever given to a person that was a whistleblower.
Not a whistleblower.
There's a video of a helicopter gunning down reporters. That's a war crime.
But ultimately, the people in the military are following the orders of thugs and liars and criminals in Washington, D.C., and as much information and as much light can be shed about their activities should be shed on their activities.
And gunning down journalists and then laughing about it is a war crime. And anybody that's defending that is an absolutely horrible, despicable person.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
There are basically 2 types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
What's show prep?
No idea.
I know Sundays we're like frantically looking around trying to find something in the news to talk about tonight. None of us have even... I got some stuff pulled up, but I haven't even looked at it. None of it's important to me or fascinating to me. This conversation
still haven't gotten back to the Saturday Night Live thing.
We still haven't, and I don't think we're going to because...
We had a pile of stuff to talk about tonight, and we didn't look at a computer screen for it one bit.
No. Of course, with you tonight is Aria.
Matt.
And Peakless Mountaineer.
And you made a point about charities that I wanted to hear more about. I don't remember what I said that specifically led to the comment about charities.
So you were saying, I don't think, like, you're welcome to call in, but I don't think you can really make an argument for anything that the state should run.
Right.
So I just recently listened to a debate over capitalism versus socialism, and like it was a really strong argument from the socialist guy. I mean, wrong, but really well put arguments. And you've got to think like, okay, there are things that the government is less disastrous at. Like right now in all of Europe, if you want to get elected, you have to say, I'm going to hold on to this medicine thing. And okay, well, the power is still on in spite of the fact that it's basically government run. So, I mean, utilities are something that the government doesn't screw up quite as readily. So you got to think like,
quite as readily as what? As other things or as private business might?
Rolling blackout.
Well,
because those are two different things. Like, sure, they screw up electricity.
As other things they try to do.
Okay.
As justice, for example. So,
well, they don't even know what justice is.
Right.
Justice is forgiveness. They have this entire system built around retribution and punishment.
Right. So he was making these arguments, and I started thinking like, okay, why is it that they are not nearly as destructive with, say, water and...
Well, Flint, Michigan would disagree.
I'm not saying they are without destruction, but I'm saying not every place looks like Flint, whereas every place is just a travesty of justice. And I was thinking, and there are advantages to what would be effectively done as charity. And some things you get a really effective way of doing this if you have a group bargaining power. And if you have sort of a little bit of objectivity away from the person consuming the good.
Sure, but you can get all of this within a free market as well.
Absolutely. But libertarians tend to talk about for-profit companies and all of the things that they would do better. And there's very little focus, I find, on the role of charity in a libertarian world.
Really? Because in my experience, most of the libertarians I know have either private schooled or homeschooled their kids because the government schooling is so horrific. And the Catholic schools are, by definition, charities. I mean, churches are charities.
So they're homeschooling through a church?
No, those are two different groups. They're private schooling through a church.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And as far as I'm aware, there's no dispute that the private schools here in Keene, the number that we have, are significantly better than the public schools.
Mm-hmm.
For one, the Catholic school doesn't force their children to wear masks. And I know a lot of libertarians who stopped whatever schooling they were doing to put their kids in these Catholic schools for that reason alone. And I can't say I blame them. But there's also Planned Parenthood, which does receive a lot of its money from government subsidies, and that should probably stop. But as we saw during I don't remember, it was the Trump administration when they were talking about, defunding Planned Parenthood.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly there was an inswell of donations to Planned Parenthood because they do a lot more than just abortions. Most people think of them as the abortion company. They're also where I go to get my STI screening, where I go to get my hormones and all of that. They cover a wide breadth of sexual and social issues, right? It's not just the one. But when they threatened to revoke donations, people started donating. They increased the amount of donations they got. And they certainly performed those services better than they're being performed in the United Kingdom, where you have socialized medicine.
Right.
And you have people in hospital beds in the hallways. You have doctors who are working 250 hours a week who are on the verge of collapse or suicide.
Yeah, and medicine, I think, is definitely one of those circumstances where collective bargaining power is an essential thing to get.
And the destruction of intellectual property.
Yes.
The reason the medicines here in the United States are so expensive is because we have insane intellectual property laws. Okay, cool.
That we do.
You spent a lot of money developing this life-saving drug. That's cool. I respect that. But I'm not going to pay you $600 per shot every month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that the majority of medicine should be done by charity, and that's not to say that there should be a restriction against private companies do it. I just think that in a libertarian world, most of just keeping our health together would be done by charities.
It would also help if health insurance actually functioned as insurance, where you only, my premium would be low because I'm young and healthy and I don't need a lot of doctor visits. But if I kept that insurance until I was 60 years old, I would still have that same rate. Instead, our insurance doesn't work that way because people use it like if you were to use your car insurance to get your mechanic to change your oil. Invoking your car insurance for that would be silly. But yet people invoke their health insurance when they go get a physical at the doctor. And that's not a sustainable industry.
Right.
Because insurance is all about measuring risk against, potential losses and gains.
Oh, yeah. And one thing that I would like, if I could change just one insurance law, I would allow insurance companies to create lifetime policies. Because then you have...
Can they not? Or do they just choose not to?
Absolutely not. They are not allowed to make a lifetime policy. Now, if you could have
You mean
lifetime,
for health insurance?
Yes, for health insurance. Because if you could have a lifetime insurance policy where you say, I will not go to any of your competitors for the rest of my life, but we have this very specific, well-made contract, then they can go, all right, here's a bunch of money for preventative care because I'm going to be stuck with the bill down the line, but I'm not paying for my competitors to have cheaper prices now.
I assume they could have lifetime rates. They just didn't. But yes, I mean, it's like life insurance. I could lock in life insurance, 10 years ago for $7 a month for the rest of my life if I wanted. I chose not to because, I was young and stupid. But if I could have locked that in for health insurance and still be paying that same rate now or when I'm 60 years old, that's insurance that makes sense for the consumer. The whole reason we needed the Affordable Care Act was because the insurance doesn't make sense for the consumer.
Yeah.
I go to the doctor once every 6 months. It costs me $150. The plans put forward in the Affordable Care Act want like $260 a month. Well, screw that. I don't spend that much. And it's because only people who are sick or unhealthy need health insurance the way it's set up.
Which is why for a while they were like, well, if you don't get insurance, then you have to pay another $600.
Yes, to subsidize the unhealthy because the medical insurance industry is just completely broken.
Why is it broken?
Because
John D. Rockefeller. So John D. Rockefeller, round about the turn of the century, basically used his political connections to put a bunch of pressure on all of the medical schools in the country and personally propped up with his own wealth the schools that were going to prescribe petrochemicals, since he was a big oil guy. So he destroyed every path of medicine in this country except the ones that were making petrochemical pharmaceuticals. And we've never recovered from that.
Interesting. I think that would just be one step. I think another step would be that the government got into insurance in the first place, or not so much insurance, but such a thing as Medicaid. When providers sees a bottomless bowl of money available, they're going to take it. They're going to stick their hands in all the time. And when you have something like that, they're going to raise the rates, and regular people like me and you can't just pay our own bill.
It was definitely the involvement of government, I think, that really did the trick.
Oh, yeah.
Because otherwise the industry just isn't sustainable.
Yeah.
If only the unhealthy and sick got it, then they'd go out of business.
Yep. And a big part of the insurance problem is that they made it illegal to give people raises during a world war. So they still had to compete for talent, so they gave them benefits instead. So every single company had to pay your health insurance or else they couldn't compete in the market because they couldn't attract talent. And it just became a thing that got passed down, which is why we're in the situation now where if you get fired, you lose your health insurance.
Very interesting.
I didn't know that was a result of World War II. I'm not surprised. There was so much collectivization then and during World War I that most people don't know where. Those two wars are how we got into this fascist machine that we're in.
Absolutely.
That was when they said, okay.
I would argue that it started at the Reconstruction, which was right after the Civil War. So, I mean,
fair.
War sucks.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
But even after Reconstruction, I mean, well,
what's the best way that we can prevent further war?
Cryptocurrency, decentralization of all things.
Yeah, if they can't print money for $1 million bombs, we just won't have a bunch of $1 million bombs.
The issue with the USD is that they don't actually have to have any wealth behind the bombs they're buying to pay their soldiers or any of that.
Right.
With cryptocurrency, they do. Just like we were talking earlier about the businesses who can't compete with the government that can just print limitless money. The government can't buy the bombs it needs if it can't print limitless amounts of money.
Even the Romans had to come up with some salt somewhere.
Yep. And they would clip their coins and all sorts of stuff. So just stop using their money.
That's how you end the Fed, by the way.
End the Fed.
Thanks for listening. This has been Free Talk Live.
The Terran Federation and the Terran League have been killing each other for decades. Sheltered, wealthy, and light years from the threat, the members of the 500 have no interest in changing that. When Rear Admiral Terrence Murphy is given governorship of a backwater system, a risk-free path to wealth and power is his for the taking. But Murphy is a man of honor, duty, and responsibility. He intends to stop the killing, whatever the cost. Governor, by David Weber and Richard Fox, from BaneBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
The latest episode of Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock is next after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
A major energy pipeline shut down by a cyber attack. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. Colonial Pipeline says it was targeted by a ransomware attack that forced it to temporarily shut down a pipeline that stretches from the